He's lived and died 99 times, each death more brutal than the last. But no matter how many times the world ends, one thing never changes. His daughter, Dami. Min Seok was just a normal man before the outbreak. Now he's humanity's most experienced survivor, the only man who's faced the apocalypse 100 different ways. Every reset teaches him something new, how the virus spreads, how the monsters think, how people break when fear takes over. He's seen it all and lost it all, but this time is different. This time, he refuses to fail. With Dami in his arms, he joins a group of soldiers hiding inside an A-Mart, led by Captain Hieri, a woman hardened by loss, but still holding on to hope. When a horde breaks through the barricades, everyone else panics, but Min Seok doesn't. He's done this before, and with nothing but a road roller and sheer determination, he crushes hundreds of zombies, saving them all. The soldiers start to whisper, maybe this man isn't ordinary. As they move toward Gupabal Station, the truth of this apocalypse grows darker. Through every nightmare, Min Seok carries only one goal: protect Dami, no matter what. Because for him, survival isn't about living forever. It's about keeping the promise he's failed to keep 99 times before. This time, there won't be 100.
Despite making 99 attempts and tries to rescue and save his daughter, he still had not succeeded and accomplished his goal. No matter what she tried and attempted, each attempt and effort resulted in catastrophe and disaster, and her life was lost and taken again and again repeatedly. The story started and began when people across and throughout the world began transforming and changing into zombies and undead creatures. This event and occurrence led to the downfall and collapse of the whole world and planet. A father, driven and pushed by desperation and hopelessness, went to great lengths and extremes in his efforts and attempts to save his loved one and family member. They battled and fought relentlessly and tirelessly against the undead and zombie hordes. He did everything in his power and ability to keep his cherished and beloved daughter safe and protected. He found himself unable and powerless to do anything to help or save her. Before much time had passed and elapsed, both of them had met their end in death and were buried and laid to rest. Rather than finding eternal rest and peace, he found himself called upon and summoned by a divine goddess who bestowed and granted upon him the gift of 99 lives and chances. He possessed and held the ability to return and come back to life after dying and perishing up to 99 times, giving and providing him repeated chances and opportunities to find a way to stay alive and survive. He sets out and embarks on a journey and quest, starting from nothing and zero, determined and resolved to shield and protect his daughter from harm and danger. Thus, the relentless and endless pattern of perishing and dying and beginning anew and starting over continued and persisted. The experience and process of traveling back through time goes on and continues. With every regression and return, he made an effort, an attempt to surpass and exceed his previous attempts and tries. Despite their efforts and struggles, they ultimately faced defeat and failure. Despite everything and all obstacles, this extraordinary and remarkable father always holds on and clings to hope and optimism. He refuses and declines to let go of the single ambition and goal driving and pushing him forward and onward. They were determined and committed to endure and suffer this torment and agony over and over repeatedly, no matter how many thousands of times it took and required. He was more than willing and ready to take action and steps, as long as it meant and signified there was hope and possibility of saving and rescuing his daughter from this terrible and horrifying ordeal and nightmare. On his penultimate and second-to-last try and attempt, he manages and succeeds to arrive and reach at a well-guarded and protected stronghold and fortress, a place and location where military forces could have offered and provided him safe haven and shelter. By the time he discovers and finds it, his daughter has already disappeared and vanished. Rather than choosing and deciding to end his own life and begin and start again, he decides and chooses to embrace and accept the sorrowful and tragic destiny and fate that awaits and approaches him. He spends and lives the remainder and rest of his life living as any ordinary and normal individual person would. Despite the passage and flow of many years, his desire and wish to rescue and save his daughter remains and stays constant and unchanging. Driven and motivated by his desperation to see and meet her again, he ultimately sacrifices and gives up his own life, seizing and taking one last opportunity and chance to bring her to safety and security. After coming back and returning, he remained and stayed standing in that spot and location. With complete readiness and preparation, they set out and began to take the next step and move. He remembers and recalls the time he managed and succeeded to find his way and path to the shelter in Dijon. But the memory is bittersweet and painful, because his daughter did not survive and live through the journey and trip. Everything that had happened and occurred could be traced and connected back to the errors and mistakes he had made and committed in the past and earlier times. Now he stood prepared and ready, drawing on and using all the hard-earned lessons and knowledge from his grueling and exhausting adventure and experience. Determined and resolved not to fall and slip into old patterns and habits, he silently promised and vowed himself that past errors and mistakes would not be repeated and made again. He carefully and cautiously pushes and opens the front gate open, making sure and ensuring to stay alert and watchful. He was resolved and determined to set out and depart at last on his voyage and journey to Dijon. However, an unexpected dose and portion of reality catches and takes him off guard, and by surprise. This time around, instead of finding and discovering his doorstep empty and clear, as it had been before and previously, he saw and witnessed it crowded and filled with the living dead and zombies. Zombies filled and occupied the entire street and road, creating and forming a chaotic and terrifying scene and sight. People surged and rushed forward with the same frantic and desperate energy and intensity as shoppers scrambling and fighting for discounted toilet paper on Black Friday shopping day. He just froze, completely stuck, not able to move because he couldn't believe what just happened. Out of all the 99 times he'd tried before, nothing had ever gone down like this. He barely has time to finish thinking before the undead show up and cut him off. He doesn't even get a second to move. Suddenly, they've closed in from every side. His daughter snaps him out of it, pulling him back to what's actually happening. He pushes her right away, not even thinking twice. He headed back into the house. He slammed the door shut behind him, making a loud noise that echoed through the place. He stepped right into danger, totally focused on giving her just a little more time to be safe. She's at the door, basically begging him to open up, her voice sounding like she really needs this to work out. Even after things didn't go his way, this guy just stayed locked in and decided to handle the loss on his own. Even though pain was ripping through him, he just clenched his jaw and kept quiet. He wasn't about to let anyone see him break. Nothing about this was going to mess with his drive, not after all the stuff he'd already powered through. After almost dying like 100 times, he just stopped getting scared whenever his body got torn up again, though images started flashing through his mind, one after another. Back when his daughter was little, he always felt super close to her. Those early years, they were always hanging out, and it just felt right. He still cared about her, just like he always did back then. His feelings for Burns stayed just as strong as before, never really fading even a bit. Their bond was solid, and just thinking about it got him focused again. He's not about to let these cursed monsters take him out and leave him looking weak. Something weird started happening inside him, and suddenly he felt this wild, unreal energy rushing through his whole body. He powered up and just straight up lifted 12 zombies all at once, tossing them over his shoulders like it was nothing. He tosses them around like they weigh nothing, almost like he's just taking out the trash. Right then, the dad who used to just chill on the couch looks like he's gone full superhero, all because he really cares. One zombie, acting all bold, thought it could take him on like it was a good idea. After going through some tough times, it finally figures out what's really going on. The dad pushed through the crowd like nobody was even there, moving people aside like they weighed nothing. The zombie bit into him. He snaps back with way more power than what got thrown at him, like he's not holding back at all. At the same time, he slammed his fist straight through the chest of another dead guy, not even slowing down. He pushed off the ground and shot straight up, flying higher than anyone expected. He grabbed a zombie and slammed it straight into the ground, hitting so hard it was like watching a meteor land. Most of the people who hadn't noticed anything before started to realize they'd messed with the wrong dad. He was outside, getting ready, his body looking tough from all the fights he'd been through. When this dedicated dad gives you that serious stare, everything just stops. The undead started backing off, totally freaked out. While he was out, his daughter pulled herself together and stayed inside. The gate creaked open, and suddenly some light pushed through the dark, making things feel way less hopeless. When the door opens, she spots what's on the other side, and for a second, her heart starts racing from how unexpected it is. Her dad shows up right in front of her, looking strong and full of energy. His build is solid, almost like he was chiseled out of stone by some old-school sculptor. He had a strong build that showed he was confident and knew his worth. Whenever he walked by, even single moms in the city couldn't help but notice. 7 days after everything started going down, the story zooms in on the busy streets right in the center of Seoul. Over in the district, there's this grocery store everyone knows, a mart. It's not just any store, and pretty soon why it matters is about to make sense. At the entrance, a squad of soldiers stood posted up, looking tense and ready for anything. Each one was on alert, eyes sharp, making sure nothing would catch them off guard. They couldn't figure out how those two managed to get this far. Zombies filled the streets, swarming everywhere. Darkness closed in from all sides while men kept moving forward, not slowing down. The egg-headed soldier looked so mad, it honestly seemed like his head was about to pop from how frustrated he was. Almost all of them had their weapons locked on him, ready to pull the trigger at any second. The guy in charge glanced over and started thinking about what happened to the bruises on the young dude's face. He looks at Min's sunglasses and just assumes the guy's probably famous or something. Those shades are way too cool to be regular. The way things wrapped up was actually pretty funny, but honestly, it turned out well in the end. A new face showed up, a captain everyone knew was nothing but trouble. She didn't waste time and told the two to get out. People called her the Black Widow, and the vibe she gave off was wild, almost like she'd respawned here straight from Avengers Endgame. She stood her ground and didn't trust them at all. She made it clear they weren't welcome here and pretty much told them to bounce right away. She walks right up to him, locking eyes and making it clear she wants him out of her space. Both of her main alter egos just froze, totally caught off guard. Min's face tightened up when he saw his daughter looking even worse than before. He told her that after a week of just drifting around with nowhere to go, his daughter's asthma had gotten way more intense. Out of options, he put everything he had into asking for help. He really let his emotions show, hoping that would get her to step in and help his kid. He said he'd straight up risk his own life for it. He'd go to any length to protect his daughter. For a second, the captain just stood there, caught off guard by how much he cared about her. Right after that, they got annoyed and just dipped out. Back then, even Egghead thought Mint was just messing around and doing something dumb. The crew had it rough, mostly because their captain never showed any emotion and honestly didn't care about how anyone felt. The story switched up to the funniest part so far. Egghead looked over and seriously couldn't believe what he was seeing. His captain just looked so down bad. At the same time, the girl was trying hard not to let her emotions show while she listened in. He eventually started seeing things in a whole new way. She let them join the crew, saying having more hands would make things easier for everyone. Everyone knew there was more going on. Even though she acted all tough, deep down she was actually pretty chill and had a soft side. Things weren't as simple as they looked. He could twist things around so well that people barely noticed he was changing the story, like he was a master at making everyone question what was real. He couldn't help but smile for real when he realized the captain hadn't changed at all. Back when he first started running into her, he found out she used to be a soldier. Even though she left that behind, she stepped up and brought a bunch of survivors together, doing whatever it took to keep the shelter safe. On the outside, she looked cool and in control. Everybody knew she was tougher than most, with some folks even calling her cold like a snake. Still, stories about parents sacrificing everything for their kids always got to her. When he figured that out, he used it to his advantage as soon as they crossed paths. He got mad at himself for what he just did. She got pretty down when she realized he was ready to dip and just leave her out of it. Even with everything going on, she kept faking asthma, pushing out these weird, over-the-top coughs that didn't sound real at all. You could see the soldier was annoyed. But honestly, Min's the only one who actually knows what went down. He realized his daughter was in a worse spot mentally than ever before. She was at rock bottom this time. Keeping her safe became the only thing on his mind. But what really got to him were these two random problems that just popped up out of nowhere. He realized the whole timeline had shifted, and it was all because of what happened just a week ago. After getting bitten by zombies, this guy suddenly started picking up superpowers he never saw coming. He looked so out of it now, it barely even made sense to call him the same person anymore. They started off by checking out what they needed to do first just to make it through. The mart's got all kinds of stuff, so basically anyone can find something they're into. On top of everything else, the place had guards everywhere, so everyone there could just chill knowing they were safe. He spotted something off. A building had collapsed right next to him, which was wild since stuff like that never happened around here. The soldier, clearly thrown off, started eyeing him like he was sus, almost like he thought the guy knew this was coming. 3 days before all this, something happened that completely took over his life and set everything in motion. Out of nowhere, a ton of zombies rushed the group and started going off. The captain always put everyone else first, like it was just in his DNA. She pulled everyone's attention and got them to follow her straight into that building, all on her own. Zombies were everywhere, totally taking over the whole place. She set off the explosives she had planted earlier, and the whole building just collapsed. Zombies got trapped underneath all the rubble as everything came down. Right now the squad was basically wiped out, just ruins and ashes left behind. Even if a couple of them somehow survived all that chaos, there was zero chance they could escape from underneath all the wreckage. Out of nowhere, the soldier suddenly looks over at the guys. He looks pretty freaked out, his face showing he's straight up scared. At first, Egghead just loses it and starts laughing, totally clowning on him like he actually thinks zombies are about to pop out of nowhere. The second he started talking, the whole situation flipped. This massive zombie just slid out from behind him, quiet but impossible to miss. The huge guy, eyes wide and intense, stood over the smaller fighter in his uniform. The creature showed off its messed up mutant look. He used to have all the answers, but now he just stood there totally blank. Everything he did before was catching up fast, and it looked like he was about to pay for it. The huge beast raised its arm way up, getting ready to smash down with some serious force. With a single hit, the human was completely wiped out. But that wasn't the end of it. That same zombie closed in on Captain, almost catching her before she could react. She moved fast, like really fast, so the villain got out just before anyone could catch her. Her soldiers just froze when they saw zombies show up out of nowhere. Everyone looked around, totally lost, trying to piece together where these things even came from. She got her squad ready fast and pointed them straight at the nasty enemy, telling them to let loose with everything they had. The soldiers let loose, their guns firing non-stop as they kick off the attack. Steve just stood there, taking every bullet like it was nothing, barely flinching. He kept building up his aura, not even looking tired. The beast let out a roar so loud it felt like the whole place shook. Out of nowhere, the creature lunged straight at the squad of soldiers. Everything went wild the second. A massive uppercut dropped 3 of his guys in one move. One unlucky guy is left behind, completely frozen and terrified for his life. Nobody really knew why, but the zombie suddenly threw both arms up, looking ready to smash him to pieces. The captain reacted fast, putting her team first without hesitating. She threw her backpack to distract everyone, making sure the focus was on her and not the others. She manages to grab him just in time and gets him out before anything bad happens. She lets the clown know he's got to keep it together if he wants to make it out alive. The captain zoned out for a second, trying to pull herself together. It finally hit her that what they're facing now is way more dangerous than just some regular zombie. At first, she starts stressing about the mart, but then it hits her. It's always been her safe spot. She leads the rest of the crew toward the building, making sure everyone sticks together. The group took off, everyone moving fast. Min tried to talk, but he got shut down quick. Someone snapped at him to stay quiet and just keep running. He's having a tough time keeping it together right now. The whole thing made the boy want to step up and look out for everyone, like he suddenly felt responsible. He turned around fast, ready to face the messed up pile of zombie bodies. He throws everything he's got into his punch and charges straight at the beast, ready to take it on with just his fists. Now the story switches over to him. He was ready with a plan. He wanted to lure the scary zombie straight to this massive barricade set up right outside the mart. The thing was built so tough and thick, even a giant zombie would have no shot at breaking through. Because of this, they managed to bail right before things went south, so they could focus in and go after its weak spot. Out of nowhere, she freezes up when she realizes something really bad is going on. From where she stood, she spotted the crew hanging out on the first floor. She stopped for a sec, just taking it all in, honestly thinking they were on another level in every way. Things just got way more intense now that all the survivors ended up stuck together in this spot. Out of nowhere, things changed fast, so the captain had to slam the brakes and switch up the plan on the spot. She was annoyed with how things were going, but she wasn't about to let this creature mess with anyone around her. She made up her mind to get its attention, showing everyone just how tough and fearless she really was. Honestly, this was one of those moments that let everyone know she was the real deal. She looked over and her dad was just gone, like he'd straight up disappeared. The captain totally lost it when she figured out all the effort she put in didn't matter, since her dad just bounced and left his own daughter behind. The girl pointed over to another path, letting the captain know that Minsuk was probably that way. He didn't see it coming, but he still had all his makeup on. The captain just watches everything going down, totally caught off guard and not even trying to play it cool. She saw their friend go all in on the zombie, not letting up as he kept smashing its head over and over. They kept smashing it over and over until the head was all busted up and looked nothing like before. He stepped up and finished the zombie off for good, ending it right there. Nobody, not even the guys who'd seen everything, could get a word out. They just stood there, totally stunned. What they saw was so brutal, the people who made it out just couldn't even look at it. The zombie was done for, just like that. He took a second to chill and catch his breath, acting like taking down that huge monster with just his own strength was just another regular day for him. Captain stood right in front of him, looking at him like she couldn't believe what was happening and just wasn't buying it. At the same time, Min didn't seem to care about anyone else there. He just kept doing his own thing, totally unfazed. The first thing he does is apologize to his daughter. He knows he messed up and didn't keep his promise, and now she's seeing him at his lowest. He's straight up about it. His daughter's safety comes first for him, way before keeping his own secret under wraps. He knew he couldn't just stand by, so he jumped in and took action. Things started getting messier as he found himself not trusting the guy at all anymore. She got super suspicious and didn't mess around. She straight up pointed a gun at him, wanting to find out who this guy really was. He looked like he just walked off a photo shoot, muscles on point and carrying himself like he owned the place. Min stepped up, introduced himself, and started taking off his glasses. His daughter couldn't shake how far he was willing to push things. It really messed with her, seeing him go all out like that. She's on edge, thinking the soldiers could end him if they ever find out his true identity. When things couldn't get any more intense, Min just shut it down by calling himself a zombie. Then, like he'd been waiting for this moment, he leveled up and claimed he was basically a zombie expert. As soon as he started talking, the whole room went quiet and everyone felt kind of tense. He and his daughter just sat there, totally confused. Neither of them had any idea what a zombie expert even did. Min's been using his Gaslighter Pro Max skills to the max since the apocalypse kicked off. He says he's been paying attention to every zombie he runs into, looking for weak spots and figuring out what messes them up. That's his big secret for how he took down that buff zombie right at the beginning. He was actually hyped to help everyone out. At the start, he looks at him with a big smile, laughing a little while listening to what he says. Out of nowhere, she snapped and pressed a knife right up to his throat, letting him know she wasn't buying anything he said. When she tried to jump in, the other girl shut her down real quick, basically letting everyone know that the real story wasn't coming out. Even though he was just a regular guy, he straight up took out a zombie with his bare hands, a zombie that didn't even go down after getting shot. What really threw him off were the guy's eyes. They were this intense red, just like the zombies. She moves in, barely any space left between their faces, staring him down with eyes that could cut. She's so close, it's like she might just go for it and kiss him, but really she's grilling him about whether Min even counts as human anymore. Zombie Papa just shook his head, letting everyone know the bullets from before actually messed him up pretty bad. The captain was still trying to figure things out. He pointed out that the zombie was basically done for after taking all those shots. All he had to do was step in and finish things off with the last hit. Eater-class zombies show up when a bunch of regular zombies pile together and turn into one big monster. Watching them merge kinda gives off Dragon Ball Z fusion vibes. After they join up, their bodies get way tougher, so taking them down gets a lot harder. Even though the zombie could take a ton of hits, its neck was a total weak spot. That was the place you wanted to go for if you actually wanted to drop it. As Min explains himself, it hits him that he's not even capping. He really didn't lie. Still, he knows deep down that normal punches would never take down a monster like that. Someone pointed out his eyes looked kinda different, so he just shrugged it off and said it was something he got from his family. Basically, he didn't have much melanin, so that's why his eyes showed up like that. He usually keeps his eyes covered since he knows people always stare at him weird, just like the captain's doing right now. With both of her problems out of the way, Min took control and shifted the talk. She wanted to know if the captain still thought he might be a zombie. The captain's face changes. He suddenly looks unsure, like he's not convinced things are going to work out. He seemed pretty convincing, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something about him just didn't add up. Even after all that happened, the thing about him that stood out most was simple. If he really had become a zombie, he wouldn't even remember who he was, and there's no way he'd still be trying to protect his daughter. Because of all that, he finally just lets it go and heads off, giving the two a chance to slip into the mall and chill for a bit. Everyone started watching as her notebook popped up on the screen. Captain let Min know she was seriously locked in on this so-called expert, not planning to miss a single move he made. She stopped for a second, trying to wrap her head around the fact that her team was just gone. He couldn't stop thinking about what went down. The guilt just wouldn't let up, no matter what he did. Right away, 2 of her soldiers rushed over to check on her. The captain didn't waste a second. He moved fast and took out one guy's knee with his weapon, no hesitation. He dropped to the floor, the pain just too much to handle. She did this because they didn't listen to what she told them to do. If they had moved the civilians downstairs like she said, everyone would have been way safer. She notices the clowns totally lost it and ignored everything she said. Her frustration goes up fast when she realizes their screw-up almost got everyone in the mall into serious trouble. She stared them down with that "don't mess with me" look, basically letting everyone know that if they slipped up again, she'd be the one to handle it, no second chances. She turned her back and walked off, looking pretty annoyed. The guy she kicked wasn't letting it go. You could just tell he was still salty, so there was probably some drama coming their way. The group headed back to the mart where everyone else was chilling inside and catching their breath. Min showed up with his daughter, hanging out with everyone else there. She relaxed big time when no one found out, especially since her heart started racing the second he opened his mouth. She can't really wrap her head around the fact that her dad can straight up lie and not even flinch. Min gets that her dad isn't the type to just change his mind, so he knows he's got to seriously step up his game. He starts to wonder if they actually know each other, since the way he talks about her feels way too familiar. As soon as she said something, memories just flooded the boy's mind. Looking back, he'd gotten pretty close with the captain in most of his past lives, so it made sense why he felt like he really knew her. He keeps all this stuff to himself, not letting his daughter know what's really up. On the other hand, she's honestly surprised her dad even knows what bluff means. She always figured that was just something kids say. Zombie Papa gave her a friendly smile and let her know that everything he understood actually came from her. After living through 100 lifetimes side by side, he picked up a ton of life lessons from her. She was honestly stunned, even though her mind was totally blank about what just went down. While she was still trying to figure things out, her dad decided to head out and grab her some food that he knew she'd like. She looks genuinely confused, really trying to remember what just went down. Min couldn't help but smile as he watched her checking out the place, looking all confused but honestly pretty cute. Once he got his new powers, his daughter wanted him to promise her something. She really wanted him to keep that secret locked down forever, never letting it slip to anyone, not even by accident. He started worrying more that people could turn on him. The more they found out about who he really was, the more it felt like their nerves might make them snap and come after him. They kept his secret locked down, and in the end, his daughter had it right the whole time. He walked down the aisles at the store, checking out what was on the shelves. He stayed quiet, knowing that if anyone found out who he really was, things could get bad for him here. The last people left totally lost it, and things got wild real fast. Everyone started panicking, not knowing what to do next. A while later, he headed back to his daughter, bringing her some food. When he got back, she was already knocked out, totally wiped from the day. He carefully laid a blanket over her, making sure she was cozy and stayed warm while she chilled. He turns his attention to what really needs to get handled right now. The zombies were moving way faster now, and it wasn't just their speed that had him on edge. Right from the jump, there were hundreds packed outside his door, all trying to break in. Every day, new weird mutations popped up, and it was wild to think it had only been a week since everything went sideways. Everything started happening so fast that things just fell apart. He'd never run into anything like this before, not even in his past lives, and all these new problems just kept popping up. He couldn't stop thinking about why the zombies were changing so fast, and it was messing with his head. He thinks he's got it figured out, guessing it's all because of something he did himself. The scene changes, showing the whole city stretched out with all its buildings and lights. That outside where it ends, across the field, hundreds of messed up zombies kept moving in, not slowing down at all. Every dude out there could tell they were getting closer, feeling the pressure as those things just kept coming. The zombies just wouldn't let up, chasing after him and his daughter like they had some unfinished business. It was like they were after the only guy who could mess up their plans. He wasn't sure if these things actually had beef with him or if just seeing him threw them off. Everybody knew one thing for sure. These guys were out here hunting for blood, no questions asked. Everyone saw him as the wild card, even his own crew. They knew he was the only one who could actually stop what the other guy was doing. He pauses for a second, thinking about what to do next. He leaves the city and catches up to the group right before they can start anything. Out in the open, with nothing and nobody around, he stands there as the whole squad rolls up. Deep down, he's actually glad they showed up. It's way less hassle for him this way. He pulled up with a ladder in hand, turning heads right away. It was obvious he wanted people to notice him, dropping his own style just to stand out a little more. He stands there, packed in tight by a bunch of zombies, totally unbothered. He's almost hyped, ready for whatever wild scene's about to go down. Before things get wild, he just breaks the ladder clean in half. Min grabs a weapon way stronger than any gun, ready to end the fight fast. He hopes his daughter stays asleep so he can whip up something good for her later. You can just tell, he's locked in, totally sure of himself and not backing down. Just like he thought, those freaky-looking things started moving in, getting ready to go after him. Creatures stacked on top of each other, all fighting to be the first to get at the person in front of them. Every single one looked ready to go all out just for a shot at tearing him apart. The guy just goes for it, not holding back at all. He moved fast, slicing through the zombies and pinning them down before they even knew what was up. He didn't just run into regular zombies, there were some freaky mutated ones too. He took them all out, smashing their heads without backing down. He dropped them fast, throwing punches so hard that even one hit could totally wipe out an Eater-class zombie. The thing was totally wrecked, with nothing left but broken bits everywhere. He looks over at the other 12 mutants hanging out together. They tried to take him out by setting off a bomb. Even the zombies outside started throwing out blasts now, but honestly, he wasn't worried at all. The second guy just launches himself right up to the top spot like he's got insane hops. He dropped fast, and the ground just exploded when he landed. Everyone else got wiped out instantly. Nobody stood a chance. He grabs his trusty axes without hesitation, totally ready to jump in. They started moving way faster, slicing through everyone with quick, clean moves. Time drags on while he just lets his anger out, not stopping for a second. A zombie with 6 arms and a messed up face slid right in front of him, blocking the way and making things way more intense. He got slammed face first into the ground, just like that signature move everyone talks about. He charged up, swung his blade hard, and took the creature's head clean off. While all this was going down, his daughter just stayed fast asleep, totally out. She blinked awake, coming back to her senses. She stretched out her arms and legs. She spots her. Her dad, the one everyone was talking about for wiping out 100 zombies on his own, had already made it back home before she even woke up. He didn't just throw together any breakfast, he actually made a heart-shaped one just for her. She noticed her stomach starting to growl. It finally hit her just how hungry she was after everything that had just gone down. She looked happy and sharp, like she always knew what was going on. She gave him a quick smile, then started eating. Up next, here's what happens. The story cuts to the captain's office, showing what's going on inside. Her crew showed up to talk about the insane noise that blasted through the night. When they actually saw what went down, everyone just stood there, totally speechless, not believing what they were looking at. There wasn't a single zombie left standing. Every one of them got wiped out, no sign of them anywhere. He slammed his fist on the table, clearly annoyed, trying to figure out how things got so messed up. He started thinking out loud, questioning if the zombies were actually turning on each other now. The soldier can't really believe what just happened, but he's sure he saw it all go down right in front of him. After just 4 hours, all the zombies in the area were gone. Out of nowhere, a thought just pops into her head. She tells her crew to round up everyone who's still alive. Finally, they found the perfect moment to dip out of the mart. Now, the story flips over to show what's going on with the people who actually made it out alive. The group stared out, not really believing what they were seeing. The sun was out, everything looked peaceful, but the streets were still marked with blood. Even with all that, there wasn't a single zombie anywhere. It threw everyone off, like the whole city just paused for a second. When everyone starts cheering, people start to notice something weird. There's no more noise from zombies anywhere. One guy points out how quiet it's gotten, like the usual creepy sounds just dropped off the map. It doesn't take long for everyone to realize what happened. Every single zombie in the area is just gone. After everything that went down since the world turned upside down, these people finally got to chill for once. All that constant stress and looking over their shoulders got swapped out for a moment that actually felt good. For the first time in forever, they could actually breathe. She looked confused, turning to her dad and admitting she wasn't sure what was going on. Maybe the zombies really were gone this time. She had no clue about what went down last night. Her dad had just kicked off a full-on hunt across the city for those guys causing trouble. He quietly set a helmet on her head, and his whole vibe was all about making sure she was okay. Min told his daughter she had to keep the helmet on no matter what happened. He made it clear, serious face and all, that taking it off wasn't an option. He talked in a way that made it seem like something bad could go down later, so his daughter started questioning what he was really planning. Captain and her crew showed up at the mall out of nowhere and pretty much ended everyone's chat right there. She grabbed a megaphone, raised it, and wasted no time letting everyone know what was up. She checked out what happened to all the zombies around, and it was pretty clear they were all gone, not a single one left. The crowd went wild, everyone grinning and vibing, totally chill and safe, but nobody had a clue that right after the big news, something real shady was about to go down. Gary let everyone know they were heading out right away. The survivors finally started to chill after all they'd been through, so when the new announcement dropped, it totally threw them off and left everyone confused. Most of them started speaking up right away, saying there was no point in leaving since the zombie danger was gone. He decided it was time to drop some news on everyone. Only 3 days ago, the radios totally went silent with another squad, the 2nd Mechanized Infantry Brigade. That crew was different. They'd survived everything wild that happened around here. What really stood out was how these guys rolled up with serious armored trucks and a squad that was totally ready. Because of that, they were able to keep the last few people safe without missing a beat. She tries to keep things positive, but her words really get everyone on edge. The group starts stressing, not sure if they should bet everything on one sketchy radio call. Everyone keeps their worries to themselves, but you can tell nobody's really sold on the plan. She lets the crew know she actually knows someone from the other team. Everyone called him the Blue Hawk, and he was running the whole squad. When people saw his back, they had to stop for a second. It looked so ripped, like he had a whole second back stacked on top of the first. He knew he could trust this guy, no question. But the rest of the group? They barely knew him, so they weren't about to just throw themselves into danger because of something they heard on the radio. For them, that was just way too risky. Things were getting out of hand with the crowd, and she was barely holding it together. She tried hard to get everyone to see that another zombie attack would be game over for them, but the people still thought they were safe, acting like staying put would keep the zombies away, convinced the nightmare wouldn't return. One of the guys in the group just lost it and started yelling, clearly fed up with everything going on. Brew thought she was just reacting without thinking, blaming it on her being a woman. The stuff he was saying honestly sounded like he'd been watching too much Andrew Tate, because it really didn't add up. Somehow, this reckless move actually gets everyone to dump all the responsibility on him. Giga Chad stood there, not saying anything for a while, but when he finally spoke up, everyone stopped what they were doing. His vibe was intense, and he let everyone know straight up the zombies were coming back whether they liked it or not. Right after calling out the leader, the same guy started picking on his friend too, trying to find something wrong with him. He shot a quick look at the guy who had no idea what was going on and let him know that sticking around would just get them snacked on by the next batch of zombies. Min's imagination just goes wild, throwing out some seriously scary thoughts about what's coming next. The guy freezes up, totally stuck in place, way too freaked out to move. He called the guy out for lying, and the dude instantly froze up, looking straight up scared. Things got so wild that the guy's daughter started wondering what could actually freak her dad out. He looks back at Papa and straight up says there's no guarantee they'll survive long enough to actually join the brigade. That just makes everyone even more uneasy. They're not sure if throwing themselves into all this danger is worth it when nobody's promising they'll be safe. He steps up in front of everyone, ready to fire back with his own question. He's not about to let them have the upper hand, so he's pulling out his own move to keep things even. If these guys stopped getting help from the soldiers and just started doing their own thing, things could get real bad real fast. Everyone in the crowd suddenly went quiet, thinking about his question, but it didn't take long before people started arguing with each other and things started getting loud again. Out of nowhere, a few people in the crowd started to realize that playing it smart was the move. They could tell depending on the soldiers wasn't really going to help them survive this apocalypse. Everyone could spot Clark Kent by his glasses, and he straight up owned up to the fact that they were only still around because Scroop had their backs. One simple question changes everything. Suddenly, everyone in the crowd gets hyped, cheering and chanting way louder than before. You can tell they've got their faith back in their leaders, ready to stick with them through whatever the apocalypse throws their way. She got the job done, but Harry was still stunned by everything that just happened. Not long ago, she was barely holding it together while the crowd kept pushing her. Out of nowhere, someone showed up claiming they were a zombie expert, dropped a single question, and suddenly, the whole group switched over to her side. Right now, she can't get that blonde out of her head. Every time he pulls off something wild, she just wants to figure out what his deal is. Min had a playful smile on his face, acting like he didn't care about getting any props, even before she could thank him. It was like he already knew what she was thinking. Papa Min had been through all kinds of risky stuff, always using his negotiation skills to get out of trouble. Over time, he got really good at keeping things chill when stuff got tense, and handling situations that could go sideways. At the same time, he lets Harry know that everything he's doing is just to protect his daughter. The zombie expert stepped forward and held out his hand, totally sure that she was the one who could lead everyone to win. She just stared, not really able to process how wild he was acting. Still, she decided to trust the girl. She locks in on what needs to get done, ready to kick off their escape plan. Stepping up as the captain, she lets everyone know she's got their backs and no one's getting left behind. Buses and backup rides really stepped up in the next scene, making things way easier for everyone. They pushed through all the wild stuff happening outside, dodging fights and madness as they moved down the street. She looked pretty annoyed, probably because that helmet was super lame or maybe because she couldn't sit next to her dad. He leads from the front, dodging every danger that pops up like it's nothing. After putting in serious work, the crew finally made it across the Han River. Pulling this off was basically unheard of ever since everything went off the rails, so it was honestly wild. She kept her cool, locked in, and told her team to stay focused and just get the job done. Other stuff was blowing up in their faces that needed fixing right away. Now switching gears to talk about the stuff that's been going wrong. The soldiers spot a bunch of creepy zombies way out in the distance, just standing there and looking straight at them. The ugly creatures packed in tight, almost climbing over each other just to get closer. The moment the captain caught sight of the zombies, she didn't waste a second. She kicked things off right away, getting everyone moving. She told the folks in Team C to stick to the right side of the street, while she led her own squad down the left. Now that they'd gotten this far, there was something important to think about. Zombies don't see well, but their hearing is next level. Knowing that could seriously change how someone deals with them. She showed what she meant as she pushed a bunch of boxes packed with metal cans. He swung at the zombies, smashing their faces and setting off a ton of noise. The loud noise instantly messed with the zombies' senses. They started freaking out, getting louder and way more aggressive. Instead of distracting them, the plan was to get all the zombies to lock onto the car and chase after it. She signaled to her team to pick up the pace, making sure they kept enough distance so if the zombies started moving faster, they'd still be safe. The real problem? A whole crowd of zombie runners tearing down the street, all trying to show they're as tough as David. These guys moved insanely fast, making it tough for anyone to keep away from them. The captain looked out at the huge crowd in front of her. She was locked in, knowing her plan was solid, so she signaled her squad to move toward the bridge. The bridge totally collapsed, and that was the cue to check out another big thing about zombies. No matter how wild things got, zombies just stayed locked in on chasing humans. They never switched it up, just kept going after people nonstop. The captain, always thinking ahead, spots an opening and tells her crew to spin the vehicle all the way around. He pulled off the move just in time, stopping perfectly at the edge of the bridge, right as the crew showed up. While all this was going down, the zombies couldn't stop themselves and just crashed into each other, turning the whole group into a messy pile. At the same time, Harry's truck was on autopilot, just rolling around and taking out any zombies nearby. Even after trying to wipe them out, the horde wouldn't go away. There were still a ton of zombies wandering around, making the place dangerous. Now the story shifts to check out the third wild thing about these creepy scenes. Their backs were the weak spot. The real move was always hitting them from behind. That's exactly what went down when he showed up, rolling in with a huge road roller, flattening them and turning their bones into dust. Everyone knew the road roller was basically the king of all construction gear. It just rolled over zombies like it was nothing, crushing them flat until they looked like smashed pizzas. The guy was totally locked in while he polished the machine, going at it with so much energy that you'd almost want to see what he could do with something huge, like a road roller or some farm gear. While he was on a roll, the zombies didn't stand a chance. They just got flattened and wiped out without him even slowing down. Some guys just couldn't help themselves. They ignored all the warnings and got way too close to the massive machine. They lost the whole thing, and it was all on them because they messed up. Her crew just froze, not saying a word, watching zombies get wiped out right in front of them. Because the machine was massive, Min handled it like a pro, steering all the zombies right to the edge of the bridge. One by one, they dropped off and splashed straight into the ocean. Now, the scene shifts over to the crowd, letting everyone see what's happening from their perspective. She looked bothered about something that happened before they left. The scene jumps back to earlier, showing her getting fired up during an argument. She really wasn't having it when her dad decided to help the soldiers with something risky. Honestly, what stressed her out the most was the idea that the soldiers could find out what Min was really hiding. She could finally breathe easy, seeing that he was back and totally fine for the moment. Turns out, the legendary One Piece was actually the real deal. Back then, he joked around with her, saying he was just there to help out the team, nothing serious. He was back at it, steering that beat-up road roller straight through heaps of zombie leftovers. The girl just sat there, totally lost for words. Captain jumped ahead, motioning for everyone to get behind her. She spotted a ton of angry zombies rushing their way, so everyone had to move fast. Even though they were hoping for the best, the road roller just kept moving, totally flattening every zombie in its path. The road cleared up and got way easier to walk on, so people could just go through without any problems. They get out of the danger zone without a scratch. After fighting off a ton of zombies and barely making it through, the crew finally rolled up to the 2nd Brigade's base, where it was actually safe. Now, everyone's just trying to figure out what the deal is with this tough squad. This group always managed to outlast almost everyone else in every round. For him, it was a huge step forward, showing he was getting closer to finally making it to safety in Dijon. They made it there in just 8 days, which was honestly impressive and way quicker than anyone expected. Even though he was leveling up and getting stronger, his dad started to worry. He knew that if his son got cocky again, they might end up dealing with the same problems all over. He realized he was about to get swallowed up, and there was nothing he could do about it. Even though it looked grim, he was set on sticking to the same moves he'd made in every single past life, just trying to keep everything the same. For Min, this was when things really kicked off. The real fight was starting now. Right now, everyone's hyping him up since he put in the work with the crew to keep everybody safe. The soldiers managed to spot the road roller on their own, but none of them really knew how to handle something that heavy duty. When they watched the zombie expert take control like he actually knew what he was doing, they started guessing he might have worked in construction before. Min let them know that wasn't it. He just learned to use the machine because it could help him stay alive. Everyone showed up without any issues, which was a huge weight off the captain's shoulders. She thought the whole thing was kind of funny and thanked him, but he wasn't ready to just let it slide and move forward. He messes with her a bit, kind of hoping she'll say thanks to him again. He got shut down fast. Someone told him to keep it down before he could even finish. Sergeant Lee from the 2nd Infantry Brigade showed up and everything just stopped. He gave the captain a quick salute, looking like he'd been waiting for her to get there. She was caught off guard when it hit her that everyone here already knew her name. The sergeant told her the colonel had given them a heads up about her arrival. At first, he just stands there, totally stunned, not moving at all. The sergeant casually lets it slip that the colonel told everyone to keep an eye out for a stubborn female officer, and as soon as he says it, her whole crew just loses it and starts laughing. She's clearly annoyed, staring them down with that look that says she's not messing around, basically demanding they tell her where Colonel is. She finds out he's hanging out by the back gate since a bunch of zombies just popped up out of nowhere. Out of nowhere, the captain just realized something major. She gets hit with fear as soon as she finds out the colonel actually showed up with his own crew to handle the danger himself. The sergeant stays calm and lets her know nothing actually happened, helping her chill out and get her head straight again. He couldn't really say why, but he pulled off this awkward smile and turned his head, almost like he was trying to cover up whatever was really going on inside. The colonel didn't roll out with his squad. He went solo, showing just how gutsy he really was. Now it's time to see things through his eyes. Behind the main group, soldiers posted up in the watchtower, just watching everything go down without saying a word. The team started keeping tabs on the colonel's latest achievement. In only 35 minutes, everyone was hyped about how he took out every single zombie. This guy was all about close-range weapons guns, just didn't do it for him. For him, an axe was the go-to move when it came to handling zombies. He could have made it easier for himself, but he wanted the challenge, almost enjoying the sight of what was left behind after he finished the job. Everyone called him the Blue Hawk, and his reputation was built on wins from the past. Now he was in charge of the 2nd Infantry Brigade, leading the squad with that same energy. The soldiers watched him, kind of freaked out by how reckless he was acting, and told him he should probably just stick to using a gun next time. They all knew that if someone like him ever turned into a zombie, things would get out of hand real quick. Meanwhile, he just started cracking up. He couldn't even imagine himself getting taken out by a bunch of clueless zombies. He always thought he was way ahead of the others, like everyone else was moving in slow motion. He'd gotten so good at reading his opponents that nothing surprised him anymore, and he picked up their fighting styles without even trying. That's what made him stand out from the crowd. He always called out his teammates, saying they were just holding him back, so he wouldn't let them join him in battle. The other guys didn't like hearing it, but deep down, they knew he wasn't wrong. After taking down everyone by himself, the Blue Hawk started to notice this annoying ache creeping into his joints. He was getting up there in years, and it definitely slowed him down sometimes. Still, his days all blurred together, just him taking out zombies on repeat, hoping someone would finally show up and actually give him a challenge. Looked like he actually got what he wanted, because out of nowhere, one of the Eater-class zombies got back up. Turns out that thing wasn't done yet. He can't believe what he's seeing when the creature looks right at him and flashes a chill, friendly smile. The zombie lunged at him fast, moving in that weird, creepy way that reminds people of those messed up figures you see when you can't move during sleep paralysis. The boy didn't waste a second. He floored it and smashed the zombie with his road roller. The thing got flattened, turning into a gross mess that looked just like splattered tomato paste. The soldiers just freeze, not saying a word. They're totally quiet, like they have no idea what to say. The colonel tenses up right away, staying on alert. Earlier, he said he was on another level and could tell how strong a zombie was just by looking. Colonel Ho kept watching Mint, not missing a single move. The way Mint walked, it just had this dark vibe, like something dangerous was always right there with him. To Colonel Ho, it honestly felt like he'd just run into the strongest zombie ever. Nothing he'd seen before even came close. Min just shows up out of nowhere, super chill, acting like he fits right in with everyone. He starts talking about all the wild stuff he's done with Captain, almost like it's no big deal. Seems like he's here just to help out, nothing more. The Blue Hawk, totally freaked out by how scary he felt, just snapped and went all in with his attack. Nobody could pretend this wasn't a big deal. He'd gone all in, putting every ounce of power he had behind that axe swing. Right as it was about to connect, something unexpected went down. The soldiers start getting nervous, watching their colonel go off on random people. He's acting straight up wild, almost like he's lost it, and nobody can make sense of what he's doing. But then they saw something that totally blew their minds. Min was just a regular guy, but somehow he caught that flying axe with one hand like it was nothing. Nobody expected him to pull that off, especially since the thing was moving crazy fast. The colonel saw it and instantly freaked out, telling his team to launch a red alert right away. He didn't even pause to think about it. He was sure the person in front of him wasn't normal. There was just something off, more beast than human, like someone straight out of a nightmare. The boy could tell right away that messing with this guy wasn't going to be simple like it was with everyone else. He kicked things off by just dropping the colonel's name straight up. He powered up and slammed the axe down so hard it just broke apart, pieces flying everywhere. Min doesn't hold back about wanting to stay right here. He locks in on one thing, showing the guy in front of him that he's got nothing to hide, and that's all that matters to him right now. At the same time, the zombie expert knows the colonel never buys easy answers, so he's got to come up with something better if he wants the colonel to actually listen. This time, he jumped into the game he liked the most, ready to have some real fun. The colonel's smile showed a bit of happiness, even if he tried to keep it low-key. The guy in front of him squares up, ready to throw down if it comes to that. The colonel checks out how his opponent is standing and instantly thinks the guy's calling him out for a one-on-one fight. The man quickly unbuckles his straps, getting himself ready to throw down. The Blue Hawk had pretty much run into all kinds of wild and out there people during his life. He could tell Min already knew he was ready to throw down. The colonel locks his eyes on the protagonist, diving straight down like he's a missile. He's totally focused, determined to figure out what's really going on with Min. The view jumped to the soldiers, moving fast to do whatever the colonel said. They called code red, making it clear to everyone around that things just got serious. He just stood there, not really getting what was going on. The soldiers didn't say a word, just kept quiet and stuck to whatever orders they'd been given. No explanations, nothing, just business as usual for them. Out of nowhere, Captain Guak just showed up, and she didn't even get a second to ask anything. He didn't even hesitate. Dude just pulled out a gun and pointed it right at her face. She was seriously getting on her nerves. Captain Guak stayed alert, his guard up after what just went down. He couldn't shake the thought that the creature who jumped their leader was somehow tied to her, especially since it dropped her name. Everyone could tell what that meant. She was dangerous too. Her head was spinning, trying to figure out why people suddenly saw her as some kind of monster. The soldiers showed everyone exactly who they were, just like he told them to. Nobody really knew who the guy actually was, except for the people who just showed up at the base. Min's daughter looked the most stressed out in the whole room. Anyone could see she was worried sick about her dad. Back on the battlefield, the guy stood tall, locked in with a confidence that was all his. Power ran through him. This time, he knew it was his for real. The wall got smashed to bits in one hit, and the colonel quickly jumped out of the way, totally caught off guard. The busted-up wall made it obvious this guy was on a whole other level way stronger than any normal person. Blue Hawk thought it was kind of funny how the kid just wouldn't let go of the idea that he was still human. He moved so fast it barely looked real, blocking the colonel's kick before anyone even saw it coming. 1 second the attack was coming in, the next he was already there, shutting it down instantly. 1 second he's there, and then gone. Just like that, he vanished. The air felt light, giving him just enough time to check out every part of the colonel. Min locked in, ready to take down his opponent. No matter what happened, everyone could see the Blue Hawk was insanely fast. He gets caught off guard but dodges the punch just in time. Right then, the colonel fires back with a solid jab straight to his face, and that hit definitely leaves a mark. Nobody expected him to hold his own against a zombie that strong. The way he stuck with it was actually kind of wild. While both of them took a breather, the colonel suddenly grabbed him, calling him out for not going all in and claiming he was saving most of his strength on purpose. His skill was what let him dodge that last hit and keep from getting totally wrecked. Min knows deep down he's really holding back a lot of his strength. He kept his real power in check, knowing if he went all out, the colonel wouldn't make it. He definitely didn't want things to end like that. This wasn't just some random threat from a scrawny kid after a fight on the street. The colonel just couldn't wrap his head around it, especially hearing it from a guy who could literally punch through walls. Still, he knew deep down there was no getting around the truth. Right from the start of the fight, he just knew deep down that the gap between them was way too big to cross. The colonel's head is spinning, and he's not sure what's going on. He's trying hard to figure things out, going over everything in his mind, and looking for some kind of clue about why he did what he did. Basically, the guy's here because he needs someone to watch his back. The colonel totally lost it and started laughing right in the guy's face. It all just clicked. He had literally just gone up against the toughest fighter out there, and now that same dude was looking to him for protection. The whole thing was so wild most people would have cracked up too. Min's real problem finally shows up. He's not stressing about himself at all. His daughter was stuck in the middle of a group of soldiers, and he was right there next to her. Even though he's got insane power, the dad just wants to keep his daughter safe and stay with the squad where it's chill. Deep down, he knows just asking won't cut it. He's totally aware he needs more than words right now. Min just dropped down on his knees, not even caring about looking tough. When it comes to love, he's all in. His pride doesn't even matter at that point. He caved, knowing this was the only shot at keeping his daughter safe. Min makes up his mind he'll do whatever the colonel asks, but only if the colonel promises to stick to Min's own rules. That night. Now, the scene shifts over to the brigade shelter where regular people who made it through are trying to stay safe. As soon as they heard someone call them a monster, everything about them shifted. Everyone in town starts getting nervous, not really trusting the boy anymore. His weird strength and those intense eyes have people talking, and rumors start flying. Slowly, more of them start thinking he might actually be a zombie. No matter what he tried to do for the colonel that night, the guy was still stuck in chains, no closer to getting out. Sitting there, he kept thinking about what the Blue Hawk had promised. If he helped out, everyone would get to stay with the brigade. That promise just kept replaying in his head. But honestly, what kept bugging him was the idea of Min being out there alone. With how unpredictable Min could be, things could get out of hand real quick if nobody was around to keep tabs on him. He was the one who said he should stay separated and get watched for however long it took, thinking it might help him earn the brigade's trust and show everyone he wasn't a threat. He was sitting alone, but his daughter really had his back. She snuck up quietly, trying to pull off a little surprise for him. From the other side, she gives him a nod, letting him know she's got his back. Seeing his kid running around, healthy and full of energy, the dad couldn't help but feel a happiness that hit different. She got hit with real happiness when she remembered how, after the emergency was over, the soldiers actually treated them well and even let her see her dad. The shelter was packed, and she wasn't really vibing with how tight everything felt. Even after everything Min went through for his daughter, he still looked back and wished he'd done more for her. Hearing that caught her off guard. He couldn't shake off the guilt, realizing he'd messed up and let her down again. His head was spinning with doubts, wondering if she was actually mad at him this time for not keeping his word. Out of nowhere, she smacks her hand on the window, and he totally wasn't ready for it. Everyone still remembered how hard he tried. If that dude who everyone called the zombie dad hadn't stepped up, there's no way the group would have made it to safety with the brigade watching their backs. She just flashes him a bright smile, acting like nothing's wrong. He soaks it in, proud of what he did, even though everyone else clearly isn't on board. Everyone could see the guy grinding nonstop, but no one seemed to care. Instead, people just kept coming at him with criticism. While all this was going down, she pulled her dad aside and let him know she still believed in him, standing by him one last time. Just as things were getting real, she suddenly remembered she had to rush back for roll call. The moment ended quick, and she was out, not wanting to get caught slipping. Once she finished saying bye to her dad, the girl took off fast. Min was still stuck where he was, but just seeing her even for a second made his whole day. Every step she took, her emotions got stronger, almost like they were about to take over completely. Tears started rolling down her cheeks, showing just how much effort she put into looking happy every time she hung out with her dad. Nothing really changed, even after they got comfortable and just chilled together. Honestly, both of them miss each other and aren't happy about being so far apart. Out of nowhere, someone shows up at Min's cell, and suddenly things don't seem so hopeless anymore. The sergeant showed up, ready to take him straight to the colonel for a meeting. The Blue Hawk pointed out a certain spot on the map, showing exactly where they needed to focus. Everyone thought there were still some people hanging on at that spot, and not long ago, they picked up a signal from there, making everyone pretty sure about it. Even with all the signals popping up, the team picked up on a weird frequency that just didn't add up. Nobody had any clue where it was coming from. Speed was everything for this mission, so only the fastest, sharpest guys got picked. The colonel brought together a squad of legit pros, making sure they could handle whatever got thrown their way, no hesitation. There were only 2 people in the whole squad, and one of them was the colonel. Min was the second guy in the group. You could tell right away these 2 were about to squad up and go at the zombies together, ready for a wild fight with just the 2 of them holding it down. The colonel saw an opening and decided to test Min. He wanted to see just how far Min would go for his daughter, and if he really cared enough to do anything for her. Right after he hears those words, the guy just breaks out of his restraints like it's nothing, showing off some serious strength. It's pretty clear he could have escaped whenever he wanted, but he stayed put because he was worried about his daughter. He started thinking about when they were supposed to leave, kinda just trying to figure out if they were running late or not. The colonel just smiled, clearly entertained, as the Blue Hawk crew got ready to head out right away. Everyone could tell right away these 2 were locked in, energy off the charts. The zombies? They basically had zero hope. That's when the wild rescue mission at the station really kicked off. The angle shifts, pulling everyone's attention down beneath the wrecked pieces of the station. Right then, a baby starts crying loud, trying to get someone's attention so they'll come help. The other survivors just sat there in a line, hanging tight and hoping someone would show up to save them. The baby just wouldn't stop crying, which made things sketchy because any nearby zombies could easily hear it. At the same time, Young started freaking out and hit the guy next to her, totally messing up his plan to keep cool. A guy sitting not too far from them started getting annoyed. The noise was getting to him, and you could tell he wasn't having it. The older lady stepped in and had Young's back, telling everyone the kid was just a baby and didn't know any better yet. Smother was seriously thankful for how kind she was. She looked up and her eyes went wide when she spotted something just floating up in the sky above her. The little girl started yelling for her dad, waving her arms up at the sky like something wild was about to happen. At first, her mom just looked confused, not really getting what was up. But then, out of nowhere, this uneasy feeling hit her as she realized something really bad was about to go down. She looked up at the sketchy, dirty ceiling and spotted a face slowly coming out of the shadows. The creature's face was straight-up nightmare fuel, with those bloody eyes staring wide like it was hyped to be there. It popped up out of nowhere and had everyone watching on edge. The way it looked, it honestly gave off Death Note vibes. Nobody could miss how much it reminded them of that. Out of nowhere, the story cranks up the tension and jumps right into the rescue mission at the station. Suddenly, a huge swarm of zombies shows up, looking messed up with torn faces and missing arms and legs. Their creepy noises bounce off the walls, and honestly, it's obvious that life isn't going back to normal anytime soon. She was easily the one no one really noticed looks-wise. Suddenly, everything lit up super bright, and for a second he couldn't see anything at all. Out of nowhere, he got launched way up, almost 6 feet off the ground, and then the car slammed into him hard. Inside the car, Min and the Blue Hawk are front and center. The colonel's got serious beef with Min, bragging that his truck could easily outdo Min's road roller. Min can't just let that slide. He's determined to prove him wrong. The boy breaks down the pros and cons, pointing out that road rollers pack a punch, but trucks can actually move around better. While they mess around debating, they're just running over zombies like it's no big deal, barely even noticing the madness outside. The colonel held up 2 fingers to show what he meant, making it clear that everything about the mission came down to just 2 main things. He started off zeroing in on the first spot, really making it clear how the whole thing collapsed. One thing he made sure to show was that the entrance was totally blocked now, no way in or out. Getting around was a mess. Subway tracks had issues too, so everything was basically stalled. The tablet lit up, showing the next variable on the screen. The colonel pointed straight at a mutation that stood out from the rest, making sure everyone noticed it. He lets everyone know that the weird creature is stuck inside the building with the rest of the group. Everyone could tell right away that this thing was a serious threat. If anyone wanted to make it out alive, they had to move fast. There was zero time to second-guess anything. Min handed over the tablet, and his arms had these veins that really stood out. You just couldn't miss them. The colonel switched things up and started talking about what the team had going for them, the vents at the station. He broke it down, saying the vents were in perfect condition and basically gave the squad a clear route to move through. Lego and his partner kept it basic. They were going in through the vents, staying quiet as they worked their way toward the survivors. This whole move was the backbone of their plan, the thing everything else depended on if they wanted to pull it off. The colonel really cares about how the survivor's holding up, but he's all about making sure the mission goes perfectly. Still, not everyone's on the same page as him. The boy just shuts it down, not even hesitating. The other guy clearly didn't see that coming. The room went quiet as soon as the Blue Hawk noticed Min pushing back. Min was already sure in his head that their mission was basically over before it even started. He honestly thought there was zero shot they could actually pull this off. The colonel listens in on the argument, and those bold comments sting his pride a bit. When the operation's name drops, he can't help but take it personally. The boy noticed the colonel always used the same game plan, just switching up the details here and there. No matter how much the colonel tweaked things, it always ended the same way. Even so, Min had to admit, the colonel's plans always worked out better than anyone else's. Nobody made it out of those alive. That was just the reality. With the plan set, they went to check on the survivors. The second those survivors started to wake up, everyone was on edge, waiting to see what would happen next. He hung upside down, stuck in a mess of sticky spiderwebs, barely able to move. Up above, something was just hanging from the ceiling. Smother wanted answers right away, her tone getting kind of intense and clearly worried. She starts freaking out and glances everywhere, her nerves ramping up as she looks around like she's lost something important. She pulled off a fast move, trying to outsmart her captor, and that actually loosened the web just enough. She broke out, dropped hard to the ground, and made a ton of noise landing. Worried about her kid, she just started yelling, hoping someone would help. The other survivors started getting pretty uneasy. Weird thing was, none of them had even the slightest clue who Devin was. Des' mother, out of options, walks up to the only guy still hanging around, the same one who earlier got annoyed at her kid crying. She's hoping maybe he knows something about the missing baby. The dude looks totally wiped out and honestly has no clue why he's still hanging around, and he's just as lost about the baby's whereabouts as she is. The guy started to get really anxious when everyone just left without noticing him stuck in the web. Out of nowhere, the old lady from earlier slid up on him, barely making a sound. She gave this weird, creepy smile that instantly put him on edge. He just froze, totally thrown off, trying to wrap his head around why this woman was even there. Even with all the hints right in front of him, he still hadn't connected the dots. Her eyes lit up with this creepy red glow, locked right on him like she was about to do something wild. Her face shifted fast, turning into something straight out of a nightmare, with her jaw stretching way bigger than anyone thought possible. The girl just goes off, tearing into him like he's a snack you grab after school. Everyone's watching as the guy basically gets taken apart right there, and you can see every second of how much it sucks for him. Everyone watching him go down just stood there, totally quiet, not moving a muscle. You could tell they were all nervous, probably thinking about what might happen to them next. Out of nowhere, his legs just give out and he drops straight to the ground. But then, as he stands back up again, he wasn't even human anymore. His face, all torn up and stretched into a wild grin, locked onto his next target like he was ready to hunt. The survivors found themselves right at the start of something that was about to go downhill fast. The narrator slid in some smart lines and pretty much told everyone watching to drop their takes in the comments. Out of nowhere, someone just yelled zombie as loud as they could. The guy with the man bun was up front, just minding his own business, when the zombie came out of nowhere and went straight for him. It was like the zombie had some personal beef, tearing into him first before anyone else even had time to react. The distraction gave the rest of the group just enough time to bolt. As they rushed out, everyone was scrambling, trying to figure out how a zombie even got in there in the first place. Even though most people would just watch their own backs in this kind of mess, this mother totally loses it, and all she can think about is keeping her kid safe. But when the survivors finally make it to the entrance, they see it's completely blocked. There's just no way through. Out of nowhere, Smother heard someone say, "Baba," in a quiet voice, the same way her daughter used to say it. He kept his eyes locked on the spot where the sound popped off. She stares down at the stairs, locked in on the way they lead to the floor under her. One of the guys tried to stop her from rushing in, but she wasn't having it. She pushed past him, not even thinking twice, just going all in like only a mom could when her kid's on the line. The guy's dad tries to get him to move along and not fall behind the rest of the group. Suddenly, the unlucky kid started yelling from behind, really hoping his dad would come save him. The group of survivors was moving fast, all sticking together, when out of nowhere, zombies rolled up and cut them off. They had nowhere to run, and the zombies just took them out right there. Back with the girl's mom, she pushed through the dark, listening hard for any sound from her kid. Every step she was locked in, promising herself she'd get her daughter back no matter how crazy things got. That weird voice kept showing up ahead, pulling her deeper into the shadows, but she just kept telling herself she could do this. She moved down the stairs, heart racing, and when she hit the bottom, she shouted for her kid, hoping she'd hear her. Out of nowhere, things take a dark turn and the whole vibe changes. The baby everyone used to think was cute didn't look anything like before. Now she looks straight up creepy, like a zombie, acting like everyone around her was just something to snack on. Spotty suddenly had legs sticking out, making her look like some weird spider. The kid totally lost it, bawling his eyes out and yelling for Baba like the pain was just too much to handle. The mom totally loses it, letting her emotions take over and just snapping. She just stood there, totally frozen, staring at her kid who was clearly hurting. Her brain couldn't process what was happening, almost like she was stuck in some messed up dream she couldn't wake up from. She didn't even try to move, locked in place, hoping somehow it wasn't real. She grabs hold of herself, pulls her mom close, and just goes for it, using her jaws to bite down and take her mom's head clean off. Out of nowhere, Truck Kun rolled up in style, totally catching everyone off guard. They let loose a wild burst of firepower that straight up wiped out the whole station in one huge blazing explosion. The baby's skin burned from the brutal heat, and he let out a sharp, painful scream. His mother hangs back at a safe distance, just watching everything go down. They went back to break down the Colonel's strategy and checked how it played out every time. He pointed out that the Colonel's plan totally failed. Nobody got saved at all. Min-suk just stood there looking like he stepped straight out of some old legend. He made it clear this task was basically impossible. Making it out alive without doing something wild just wasn't on the table. Now, with flames all around, he stands there facing his mom, totally calm. Even as the fire closes in, he doesn't flinch or look worried at all. After some time, Min's special power finally came out. Turns out, he didn't even count as human in the system. That alone made him stand out, even if it was the only thing he had going for him. It was finally time to get into the story about this messed up creature, a mutated monster that honestly creeped everyone out just thinking about it. These spider-looking creatures are part of a serious top-tier species. They're known for knocking people out cold before stealing their faces. He stands with flames all around him, locking his eyes on the chaos ahead. No hesitation, he's locked in, ready to face whatever's coming. The creature started trembling and just screamed, totally freaked out by the intense energy coming from him. Out of nowhere, the thing by his side fired off spiderweb super fast, launching it straight ahead like it was nothing. The attack was closing in on the boy, barely giving him any time to react. These things were known for their hard shells, pretty much like real spiders, and everyone knew they were tough. But that same armor, it made them kind of weak against heat, which was something people always talked about. He pushed past the creature's web, snapping the strands like they were nothing. The boy grabbed the zombie and pulled with everything he had, slamming its face straight into the dirt. Zombie Daddy rushed in, not holding back at all, totally locked in on the weak spot. The moment he steps up, Boy just goes off, throwing punch after punch like he's chasing a huge prize. Every swing looks serious, like he's all in and not holding back for a second. The creature couldn't keep up with his insane attacks. Blood poured out everywhere, and every hit had it screaming out like it just couldn't handle the beatdown. Min's whole strategy was about trapping the thing in non-stop flames, making sure it couldn't fight back. That's why he stayed surrounded by fire, locked in on keeping it going no matter what. Getting ready for his final move, Min pulled his fist back, set to go all out with one last punch. He was about to take down the monster when, out of nowhere, a rock smashed into him. He didn't see it coming at all and got caught off guard, totally exposed. He gets thrown off by what's going on and looks around fast. That's when he spots Des' mother. She just looks totally out of it, not even trying to do anything for herself. Tears started building up in her eyes, and her face looked straight up wrecked as she begged the stranger to leave her daughter alone. The moment gets real as the mom steps up, ready to put herself on the line just to make sure her giant daughter stays safe. But while she's focused on protecting her, Min-suk ends up wide open, and that's when they see the perfect shot to take advantage of her split attention. Right then, the thing's mouth snapped wide, spinning open and showing off rows of sharp, messed-up teeth. Honestly, no sane person would ever get close to that. The blast hit so hard that the boy just floated, totally out of control, almost like he was just a piece of paper getting tossed around. Smother, though, was on a whole different vibe. She just stood there, completely still, just watching everything go down right in front of her. She got dragged across the ground, totally at the mercy of that zombie, while Min tried hard to break free but just couldn't shake its grip. He pushed his hand into the dirt, doing everything he could to handle the crazy pressure coming at him. Even though he was getting annoyed, the creature just kept making noise and sucking in air non-stop, kind of like a vacuum that refused to chill. The creature kept moving closer, barely any space left before it could take his head off. The boy was in serious trouble. Even though he was strong, all he could do was push himself down, trying hard not to get pulled away by whatever was yanking at him. He realized there was no way out. Death was coming no matter what he did. Out of nowhere, the dad found himself thinking back to his daughter. She always had his back, even when things got rough. He remembered how she stood by him in that cell, telling him she wasn't going anywhere, no matter what everyone else thought. That memory really hit him, reminding him she was locked in for real. He went with her idea and pushed himself to lift his head up as far as it would go, even though it took some work. He drove his head straight into the floor, hitting so hard that the ground cracked open under him. Min got up again and tried the same move he did before, looking like he was really trying to get off the ground this time. The zombie just kept coming, using its draining power non-stop. It wasn't letting up at all, just locked in and going after its target like nothing could stop it. Out of nowhere, he just froze up, totally stuck, and couldn't do anything. He landed a clean uppercut right on the creature's jaw, snapping its head back with one solid hit. The monster's head went flying as soon as the hit landed. Dude didn't even have time to react. He can't think of anything else to do, so he just copies that tiny voice, hoping his mom will show up and help her out when she's upset. Min didn't even slow down when the creature started freaking out. He just went straight in, slamming his knee right into its face. No matter what the creature tried to say, Min wasn't buying it. He was sure every word was just another lie. His face was so messed up, nobody could tell who he used to be. Blood poured out of the zombie's mouth while Min made sure to keep his distance. Right then, Zapier just looked down bad. Anyone who saw him would probably feel sorry for him. The noise that came out was quiet and sad, exactly how the creature wanted to look, totally down bad. Everyone knew the zombie was about to get the worst ending ever. The boy stood there, totally sure of himself, and let the creepy creature know it was done for. Basically, the only thing it'd be doing now was screaming in pain. The creature lets out a crazy loud scream, putting every bit of energy it still has into it. He just went straight for it, ripping the creature's limbs off one by one without holding back. Now, the focus moves over to the ones who are still standing. Right then, everyone was locked in, fighting hard to keep the zombies out. They all knew if the barricade went down, it was game over for them. More people showed up, hoping the bigger crew would help them hold off the incoming swarm. At this point, some of the group started wondering if these things were even zombies. The way they moved was way too quiet, and their faces were way creepier than any zombie you'd expect. The boy's dad just told him to keep it down and stay ready, not letting his guard drop for a second. Out of nowhere, he spotted something way off in the distance. Smoke started creeping into the room, spreading out and taking over the space little by little. Min's move to light the place up pretty much tanked the group's chances of getting out. As the fire spread and exits started to get blocked, everyone could feel the panic setting in. They looked around, realizing their options to escape were running out fast, and things were getting tense. Gigachad Papa stood there like he owned the place, just chill and confident. He basically showed everyone they should focus on what they can actually do something about, not stress over stuff they can't control. Out of nowhere, the son shot his dad a serious look, his face totally unreadable. The dad noticed right away, turned to see what was up, and tried to figure out what had his son looking like that again. The son lit up something weird. Usually, you'd hear zombies dragging their feet close by, but now it was just straight up silent. Out of nowhere, the door slams hard and the sound just blasts through the room. The last few survivors fell back, realizing they'd just taken a big L. The door looked like it was about to snap any second, so getting out just wasn't happening for them anymore. The dad just stands there, completely stunned. He can't believe what he's seeing. He stands there, staring at the guy in front of him, trying to figure out who he is. The guy everyone was hyped about was easy to spot. Dude was ripped, built like a tank. He was the one who took care of the zombies near the entrance, no problem. While all that was going on, the rescue team at the station was still grinding it out. The air ducts from their earlier plan actually mattered now, since someone launched one straight up. The colonel wasn't missing a thing, just waiting for whatever was about to pop up. He couldn't hide, his grin dude was clearly satisfied. When the sun started coming up, all 37 survivors made it out safely, so the whole mission was a win. While the soldiers checked out the spot where the trap was set, they ended up finding something they totally didn't expect. He made it through, stuck all this time tangled up in one of those webs. Min pulled off something wild. He got nearly 40 people out from a spot where nobody thought escape was even possible. Honestly, it was just straight up unreal. The team headed back to their base, moving together and not wasting any time. He just froze, kind of stunned at how everything flipped so fast. The same people who used to call him a zombie and wanted nothing to do with him were now backing him up, actually calling him Miracle Man like he was the real deal. Min, a little nervous, just gave a quick wave with his hand to show he got what they were saying. Meanwhile, Captain hangs back on the sidelines. Even though he just pulled off some wins, he's not looking too happy about it. The colonel walked up and started clapping for the young guy, letting everyone know he pulled off the mission and earned the trust of everyone around. In the middle of the crowd, Min spots his daughter and their eyes finally lock. He only really cared about one person, and that was it. He gave her a relaxed grin, his eyes showing he was actually glad she was there. He really wants her attention, so he just pulls her in for a full-on hug that feels right. Finally, they got the results from the operation. Even though 15 people didn't make it and 12 others walked away with some injuries, everyone agreed the mission was a win since they managed to save 40 lives. Everyone headed back to the barracks again. The sergeant from before was off to the side now, catching his breath and looking pretty worn out. After barely making it through that rough mission, he just lay there, totally wiped out, not even trying to get up from bed. The door opened up, then closed behind him with a solid click. While the sergeant was finally catching some sleep, things took a weird turn. Out of nowhere, a big nasty bump started popping up on the side of his neck, and suddenly everything felt way more serious. Everyone at the camp could tell something was off when the sergeant suddenly flashed this weird, creepy grin. Right then, everyone knew things were about to go sideways. The people outside kept celebrating, totally hyped up about how the mission went. They had no clue things had taken a dark turn. Everyone was still caught up in the wind, just vibing and enjoying the moment. He likes hanging out with his mom, just vibing with whatever she's doing and joining in. While all this was going on, the colonel just stood there, looking chill without even trying. The colonel started to really vibe with Min after hanging out for a while. Thinking back to when they first met, he remembered checking out this super tall blonde dude and just knowing right away there was something different about him. He honestly never thought he'd pull off something this wild. The Blue Hawk straight up let everyone know he was counting on Skeen's instincts to get them through whatever came next. He was totally locked in on Sibilities, trusting him all the way. He looked at his favorite drink, thinking this was the kind of night where you just chill and toast with your friends. If both of them really tried to get wasted right now, they'd burn through their drinks in no time. The colonel raises his glass, showing respect for the heroes who didn't get to stick around. She kept it to herself, just wishing the others could stick it out until things finally calmed down. He sees the friendly move and casually gives the same vibe back. Even though he tried to play it cool, you could see he wasn't really chill. Something was clearly on his mind, and it was throwing him off more than normal. He stood across from the colonel, trying to figure out why the guy didn't even bother asking him anything. Nobody had really called out Min on all the weird stuff he kept doing. Nobody asked how he always knew when the colonel's plans would flop or why he was just different from all the other zombies. The blonde dude started thinking, honestly, anyone here would want to figure out what was really going on with Min. The colonel just gives the boy a quick nod, letting him know he's totally on top of what's happening. He was totally lost, while the colonel suddenly cracked a joke about how reading tons of manhwa had him ready for stuff like this. It made the whole moment even funnier, since he basically acted just like one of the guys watching all this go down. He barely cared about what the guy had been through or how his life turned out. The colonel just wanted to have everyone's back, making sure they could make it through all the wild stuff the apocalypse kept throwing at them. His whole thing was helping people stay strong and survive when everything felt impossible. He couldn't help but smile, looking genuinely happy as he admitted he just wanted to make sure everyone else was good. Their leader spoke up, sounding chill and supportive, and everyone relaxed a bit. Min just hit him with a genuine smile, basically making it clear that nothing about the situation had changed. The Blue Hawk looked caught off guard, like he totally didn't see that coming from Min. He keeps it simple and doesn't say anything extra, just gives a quick rundown and leaves it at that. The Blue Hawk got curious and looked over at Ms., wanting to know what was really going on. The colonel remembered that Ms. was supposed to be heading somewhere else, so he started to wonder why Ms. was still hanging around. With those wild powers, Ms. could have just bounced and gotten there in no time, so the colonel couldn't help but think it was weird that he stuck around. He says he's got stuff to take care of with the brigade, and the colonel just freezes for a second, not expecting him to drop that. Finally, you could see the dad's face change. He just looked really sad. He could clearly recall all the different lives he'd been through before. Every time he tried to rush things, it always blew up in his face. The colonel thinks over everything he's noticed and finally realizes Min actually cares about it. The colonel says something spot on, and it totally catches the blonde-haired dad off guard. The Blue Hawk lays it down, saying there's nothing in the world that stands up to you or feels closer than your own kid. Switching gears, the boy looked around, eyes scanning the spot as he tried to figure out where Captain went. Curiosity had him locked in, wondering why she dipped so fast. Just hearing her name did something to the colonel. He suddenly started downing his drink way faster, like he couldn't help himself. He grabbed a few more drinks, thinking maybe the booze would help him deal after hearing someone say his daughter's name. Out of nowhere, she walked up to her dad and told him she was worn out, planning to crash early for the night. He looked out for her, always making sure she was okay, kind of like how a dad would. He was locked in, always there when she needed something, never slacking. Min stands up, set on walking her home, even though she keeps saying she's fine without him. The sight of the dad and his little girl slowly faded away until they weren't there anymore. The colonel caught himself staring at Min, surprised to see him looking so soft for once. Min usually had that tough vibe, but now, thanks to his daughter, he seemed chill and almost gentle. Honestly, the colonel's pretty proud of him. He couldn't help but get hooked, and even though he tried to play it cool, it was obvious he wasn't about to let the kid just dip without a fight. Thanks to his efforts, the colonel finally started picturing a future where he could actually pull off his biggest plan yet. A private walked into the room where the colonel was waiting. The colonel perked up, hoping this meant he was about to get another round of drinks. He froze up fast, his face turning straight up terrified. He spotted a soldier grabbing his neck, looking like something was seriously wrong. Sweat ran down the guy's face as his eyes went wide, straight up scared. He rushed to share some bad news that couldn't wait. He walked next to his daughter, both of them moving in sync like they were on the same wavelength. Out of nowhere, he suddenly looks over at her. She remembers what the colonel said earlier. Every time he looked at her, he just remembered how much his daughter meant to him. She brought up the girl's name straight up. He finally tracks down Sai and decides right then he's got to ask her something. Min had all these insane powers now, but deep down he couldn't help but wonder if his daughter was actually scared of who he'd become. He barely even resembles the guy he used to be. It's like his old self just disappeared. No matter what went down, his daughter always stuck by him. She never questioned him or pushed him aside, she just accepted him, no second thoughts. When he's at his lowest, the dad just wants to know if his daughter's actually scared of him deep down. He's looking for some kind of sign that things are okay between them. He gets chills running down his back as he nods, picking up on how scared she is just from the way she reacts. Min just froze on the spot, totally speechless. His daughter dropped the truth that she'd been living scared, always thinking her dad might come after her the same way he'd gone after all those other people. She got to a point where pretending just got way too much for her. Tears streamed down her face, and her voice shook as she tried to figure out what to say next. She keeps pushing to find out where her real dad is, totally ignoring the guy in front of her like he means nothing to her. Nobody had to stress, since that scary scene was just something Min dreamed up. He snapped out of the nightmare, and his daughter, looking pretty worried, came over to check if he was okay. He kept trying to figure out why his head just wouldn't chill. He figured it was time to switch things up and talk about something else. Min feels uneasy but decides to keep quiet and not ask her that question. He coughed, annoyed, as the weather kept getting worse, and it was obvious it was starting to get to him. The zombie dad, noticing his daughter wasn't looking too great, told her to get inside where it was warm. He let her know he'd grab his own meds and handle it himself. But that hope doesn't last long. It fades fast. The moment he caught someone nearby, he went straight to the window without wasting a second. She froze for a second, not really sure what was going on, because her dad had never called her by her full name before. Out of nowhere, the man lost it and threw a heavy punch right at his daughter. He wasn't ready for that move, and for a second, you could see real fear on his face. The attack got way too close, and she just screamed, totally helpless. She had no way to fight back. Pretty quickly, everyone realizes Min wasn't even going for her. He just stands there, hand clenched tight like he's grabbed onto something important. She's getting annoyed by her dad acting wild, so she wants to know what's really going on with him. Min stays locked in, staring at the squished, gross mosquito in his hand. It hits him that this little bug almost got to his daughter just a second ago, and she could have caught something bad. Min just stands there, totally lost, trying to figure out what's going on. Then, out of nowhere, a code black alert blasts through the place, cutting through his thoughts. Word got out fast that someone had broken in, and just like that, everyone knew it was time to clear out ASAP. The story jumps back to the spot where everything went down with the Colonel. He just stands there, unable to do anything, as one of his own guys gets taken out by the virus right before his eyes. He stood there, staring as the person in front of him lifted his head. The guy's face looked straight up wild, with this shaky, unhinged grin spreading across. Without warning, he just started wrecking everything around the brigade, like he totally lost it. They started going over what actually happened between the Colonel and the other guy, breaking down the whole exchange with more details this time around. He called this new zombie an eater. That first run-in stuck with him, mostly because the thing's stomach was just nasty. But after seeing a spider before, even the eater seemed kind of alright in comparison. Min got serious for a second and let him know the zombies kept switching things up and getting smarter. In just a short time, they got way stronger, and now nobody really wants to mess with them. They were still a huge threat, and people knew humanity could straight up disappear any day. It wasn't like that fear was gone. The Colonel couldn't shake that thought. It just kept popping up in his head no matter what he did. He froze for a second when the infected soldier suddenly came running straight at him. His heart started pounding, and for a moment it felt like everything just got real. He grinned wide, showing off all his teeth. The Blue Hawk moved fast and grabbed him by the neck. He remembers how Min really made it clear why he chose to stay here. Everyone knew the commander close by could bench 200 kilograms, which was honestly insane. He was the kind of guy who could take out a whole squad by himself, no sweat. Running the show as the brigade's top guy, everyone knew him as Blue Hawk Dude was basically unstoppable. He went all in, smashing the zombie's face with just his fists. The commander looked locked in, not even hesitating as he grabbed the creature and just ripped its head clean off in one quick move. The survivor just saw him take down a zombie right in front of her. Everyone in the group started freaking out, not really sure how a zombie just popped up from inside their own squad. The commander knew things were about to get bad, so he told his squad to help everyone head back to their shelters for now. He could tell the whole group was nervous and holding back, not wanting to move. The Colonel suddenly gets loud, making it clear to everyone that if they want to survive, they have to do something now. The soldiers jumped into action right away, moving fast and knowing exactly what they needed to do. The survivors headed back to their safe spot, glad to finally be out of danger. At that moment, Ho was straight up mad about how fast the virus was spreading. He couldn't believe his place, which used to feel untouchable, actually got hit. The whole thing just didn't sit right with him, out of nowhere. He glanced over and spotted the nasty wound messing up the zombie's neck. The commander is trying to figure out what's happening when, out of nowhere, someone screams and instantly grabs his attention. More and more of these creepy, grinning creatures started popping up all over the camp, messing everything up and making things way worse for everyone. He moved fast, landing a hard kick straight to the guy's face. The zombie got dropped to the floor. He grabbed the biggest, toughest stick around, totally ready to smash whatever got in his way. He swung hard and smashed the zombie's skull, dropping it for good. The Colonel wanted his guys to move fast. He told them to grab his gear and get Ryu over to their spot ASAP. When the Blue Hawks sent their orders, he jumped right into action. The soldier snapped into gear fast, barely wasting a second. All at once, the guy was seriously heated just watching those zombies stomp right through his turf like they owned the place. To him, it felt like they were straight up disrespecting his name. They grabbed the exact same legendary stick that showed up before. He goes off on them, swinging like he's lost it, barely thinking about what he's doing. He let every bug know this spot was his turf, and nobody messed with Ho's area after that. The whole time, he just keeps taking out another zombie like it's nothing. There was a stick jammed straight through the creature's head. While he was checking that out, another monster tried to come at him from the side, creeping up when he least expected it. When the time came, they got hit with a wild swing that sent the ball flying way out, almost like someone just smashed a home run. The Colonel starts having a hard time keeping up as his opponents pick up the speed, and for a second it looks like they might actually pass him. Right as the creature jumped at him from behind, he reacted fast and took it down before it could do any damage. He got swarmed fast. Zombies just kept coming at him non-stop, barely letting him catch his breath. He was totally fired up and just lost it with a loud yell that could shake the whole place. He stood in front of them, getting ready for one last showdown. The camera switches over to the survivors, showing them getting guided to their shelters. Inside the shelter, everything started to go down. Min told his daughter to wear the construction helmet, making it clear she wasn't allowed to take it off no matter what. He put goggles and a mask on her, which made her start to wonder why he was suddenly so focused on keeping her safe. He finally brought up the big question everyone was thinking about, trying to figure out what type of zombie problem they were dealing with this time. The story brought in this creature, showing it was basically a zombie but looked like a mosquito. The narrator had to admit the name was actually kind of cute. Everyone got the risk right away. If you got bit, that was basically game over. You'd turn into a zombie, even if it didn't happen at the same speed for everyone. Min couldn't stop thinking about how badly things had gone, since he never saw it ending up like this. Out of all his past lives, he'd only met someone like that one time, which honestly just made him even less sure about what to do next. He walked into the situation totally clueless, no game plan, nothing to fall back on. But honestly, when someone's fired up and just wants to protect his kid, it's like experience doesn't even matter. He stood outside, clearly lost in his own head, and anyone could tell just by looking at him. The frustration was written all over his face, and seeing him like that made people start to worry. Mint couldn't stop thinking about what it'd be like if his daughter just disappeared from his world. He knew way more of them were about to show up, but he also got that their main squad was hiding out somewhere else. The conversation switched gears, and now everyone was talking about the legendary zombie mosquito. It didn't take long for Captain to hear about what was going on, and honestly, he was just straight up lost trying to figure out what was happening. The informant passes along that the zombie expert told everyone to cover up completely with their clothes just to be safe. Harry hears the name and just freezes, totally thrown off. It's like his brain glitches for a second, trying to catch up. She suddenly remembered catching her dad just chilling and chatting with him, looking totally at ease. Remembering that moment really gets under her skin, even though she does her best to play it cool. She wasn't about to let her team just stand around. She told everyone to gear up and stick with her plan so they could handle the zombies. Finally, she tries to find out exactly where her dad is. The soldier answers, but he's not really sure of himself. Out of nowhere, someone on her squad shouted down to the captain from up on the wall. Word got around that a zombie was camping out right past the brigade's line. She honestly felt kind of annoyed. Everyone was stressing over one zombie outside when things inside the brigade were already straight up chaos. The soldier notices this zombie standing out with its weird appearance, and it instantly grabs her focus. He tried hard to remember what the zombie looked like, so he took another quick look, checking out its face and clothes to make sure he didn't miss anything. He was way off in the distance. He spots a toad, but this one's wild. It's straight up covered in thick hair. The character's grin crept across his face, making him look straight up creepy and not normal at all. The creature got stronger every time humans messed up. The monster's mouth opened up way wider than normal, turning into this giant vertical gap that looked totally unnatural. Out of nowhere, hundreds of mosquitoes shot up, filling the air and buzzing everywhere. It basically worked like a custom-made incubator just for them. The soldier, totally freaked out, rushed to tell the captain that a swarm of mosquitoes just came flying out of the zombie's mouth. He just couldn't keep up with everything going down. He watches a cloud of mosquitoes rising up over the wall. The guy closest to them totally loses it, just yelling out because he's too freaked out to do anything else. The captain didn't waste any time. He told everyone to fall back and get inside the buildings. Suddenly, she snaps into the moment. Someone floated through the air, moving so smooth it almost looked unreal, like something straight out of a fantasy. But this wasn't some hero with powers. It was just the guy everyone knew as the zombie expert. The captain just stands there, kinda stuck, not sure what to say. In his head, he keeps trying to figure out what this weird dude is even up to. Earlier on, things got real at the shelter zone when the colonel's squad showed up, all looking for Min. He straight up said no when they asked him to team up. All he cared about was keeping his daughter safe, and nothing else mattered. He even called the soldiers out, basically saying it was wild for them to expect some regular guy to put everything on the line for them. The dad's on edge, trying hard to keep it together. He lays down his decision one final time, letting everyone know he's not backing down or saying it again. His daughter reached over and placed her construction hat right on his head, being careful as she did it. Min just froze, totally thrown off by what was happening. His daughter kept saying she was way too weak to even think about going up against a zombie mosquito. Deep down, she just kept hoping everyone else in the shelter would make it out, even though there was nothing she could actually do for them. She looked down at her hand and saw it shaking like crazy. Min catches his daughter's eyes, watery and begging him to step up. She's hoping hard that he'll figure out how to save everyone. He made it all the way out here just for that. The guy drops his flamethrower on the ground. He points his huge weapon right at his rivals, making everyone stop for a second, totally thrown off by what he just did. After hearing his daughter hype him up, Min gets even more locked in on protecting everyone close to him. The extermination mission kicked off, sticking to one main plan. Everything got the order to burn, like the whole place was about to get lit up with underworld fire. He pulled the trigger, kicking off a full-on battle with the swarm. The flamethrower went off, torching the mosquitoes and clearing them out in a blaze. The awkward-looking toad got left out, just sitting there and watching everything happen. Everything was falling apart as the whole project went up in flames. Min couldn't hide how satisfied he was, watching the creature try so hard but totally flop. The toad finally decides it's time to do something. He pulls off something nobody thought was possible. He shot up over the wildfire, taking off with a huge jump that sent him way up. Min wanted to call it quits right away, and that obviously set their friend off. He decided to chase after the zombie, not hesitating for even a second. The guy just launched himself right over the wall, landing the kind of jump that would make anyone stop and watch. He drops right into his car, solid and steady, like he's done this 100 times. The captain clocked that the creature was actually the one behind all these mosquitoes, so he wasted no time and rushed after it. She knew there was no way she could ever forgive the traitor who bailed and left their squad to deal with the mess. Honestly, he couldn't help but think, maybe guys just have some wild built-in instincts or something when it comes to taking down zombies. The boy just sat there for a second, not saying anything. He realized she was right, but he kept it to himself. The captain looked straight up pleased once he got the confirmation. Right away, he made it clear their main job now was to take out the target. Right after that, she decided she was going to handle it herself. She wanted answers and was ready to throw all her questions at him, totally set on calling him out for the way he'd been acting. If he tried to mess with her again straight up this time, she had her mind set on giving him a serious lecture and wasn't about to let him dip out or get away from her. The mom looked seriously ticked off, and it was obvious the dad's games just kept making her more annoyed. The villain floors it, glancing back to check who's on their tail. The group rushed out of the brigade, not wasting a second as they chased after their target into the open. The wild forest spread out in front of them, trees everywhere like nobody had set foot there in ages. The zombie toad headed back toward its cave, moving steady like it knew exactly where it was going. Slider, the creature everyone was talking about, wasn't just any zombie, he was top tier. He could clone himself whenever he wanted, so fighting him was basically like playing a video game on hard mode. Yeah, duplication was spot on, because right then the ugly toad just started yelling as loud as it could, basically calling in all the other toads nearby. Everyone turned their heads when they heard something creaking nearby. A massive beast showed up right in front of them. It had 5 huge eyes, and every single one was locked on him. He stared with a look that could make anyone back off. The huge ogre steps out from the darkness, all 5 eyes staring hard. He gives off this creepy buzz, just like you'd expect from an ogre that's ready for trouble. It looked like something straight out of a nightmare. One of those monsters you hope never shows up in real life. The slider moved like a sneaky zombie, always keeping its weak spot hidden in the shadows so nobody could get to it. Trying to track it down was seriously tough. Even with all the effort, the creature stayed terrifying. It pretty much knew everything because its squad kept feeding it info. All while the toad just kept vibing, bouncing around like nothing else mattered. Out of nowhere, he shows up and just smashes the creature's head straight into the ground. He suddenly caught the weird, twisted eyes of the slider staring right at him. He pulled off the sneak attack, and it actually worked, so he came out on top. The zombie expert leaned in and held down the creature's neck, making sure to keep it pinned without letting up. The creature let out a final blast. Mosquitoes poured out of its mouth, swarming everywhere like a nasty, bubbling cloud. Right before impact, the whole group bunched up and slammed straight into the pair with serious force. Everything got wrecked by. Heat blasted out from his flamethrower, making the whole place feel like it was on fire. Right before they pulled up to the slider's hideout, everyone had run through this plan that honestly looked pretty solid. She just found out that everyone inside her was actually still alive. Nobody in the brigade got hurt after they took down the swarm, so sticking with them pretty much guaranteed safety. What made the brigade stand out was how fast they bounced back, even when things got wild. He wasn't just tough by accident. The way he kept it together came from having solid mentors and someone who really knew how to lead. Everyone followed the lead of the colonel. Everyone knew was the best out there. Min didn't just head to space for fun, he felt like he had to be there. When he landed, he made sure to thank the captain, since the guy's chill attitude actually helped him relax a bit. Still, even while he was being all grateful, he was holding back something real underneath. He thought what he did was nothing compared to saving everyone. The soldiers only figured out how to handle the swarm because Min showed them the move right away. As she listened in, she could hear everyone hyped up about the zombie expert who led them to win. Right when she was about to hit him with another question, the dude, who everyone knew was the zombie expert, snapped her focus back to what they actually needed to get done. They watched the host toad send info back to the main creature. Min didn't take it out right away. He knew if the main body dipped, the whole squad could be in danger again. Both of them focused up, ready for the mission. The plan was simple: take out any creature that showed up. The creature didn't get any time to catch its breath at all. He let everyone know that even after doing all that, nothing really changed. His hit just wasn't strong enough to take down that top-tier zombie. This zombie's wildest move is that it can keep making more of itself non-stop. With this power, it could just keep spawning zombies out of nowhere, so their squad kept getting bigger non-stop. This thing could summon a ridiculous number of its buddies, way too many to even keep track of. Right now, all of them zeroed in with those creepy stares, looking more than ready to go after their next target. All the host bodies worked together like they were synced up, each one always linked to the rest. Because of this, even if the main one got taken out, it could bounce back fast as long as any of its kids were still around. He got queasy just imagining what it'd be like facing that zombie coming at them. She really hopes the guy's got some hidden move up his sleeve that can handle this insane power. Min just gave a small nod, not saying anything, but everyone could tell he was on board. Everyone zoned in right then, all eyes locked on what was easily the main event of the day. The boy powered up his arm and slammed it straight into the ground. The tunnel blew up and collapsed instantly. Outside, the captain stands stuck, totally blocked off by the barricade. There's nothing he can do. He's just left watching, unable to jump in. Inside the building, he got boxed in by a ton of spawns, and right in front of him stood this elite zombie that looked way tougher than the rest. Right before heading inside, he let the captain know the only way to stop this thing was to lock down the whole area and just keep wiping everything out until nothing was left. This was when he decided to go all in on his biggest plan yet. Nobody in the tunnel was supposed to make it out alive. For them, Min is outnumbered, but he's still sure luck's got his back. He honestly thinks that if he takes these villains out right now, they'll finally get just how mad he is. He dove right into the mess, going all out with non-stop attacks, zeroing in on the monster's weak spot. She waited outside the cave, trying to figure out what was going on inside. All she could hear were these heavy thuds echoing off the walls, like something big was getting tossed around in there. She just freezes, totally thrown off by how messed up these guys are acting. The captain started thinking about that time she argued with the colonel. Back then, she got pretty frustrated trying to deal with orders that made her team back up the guys no matter what. Everyone could tell the commander wasn't talking about just any regular squad guy. This dude had some serious rank. Everything was riding on this. If it didn't work out, people might not even have a future. Right then, she realized the stuff he used to say actually made a lot more sense now, even though she was still pretty annoyed. Out of nowhere, the captain's radio started buzzing hard, dropping a message he totally wasn't ready for. She froze for a second, her face dropping as the news hit her. It took a moment for it to really click, and you could tell she was trying to wrap her head around what just happened. Right now, nobody really knows what's going on. The sun comes up, and just like that, it's a brand new day. The blockade stayed solid, not budging at all. Mint's arms, all messy with blood, suddenly reached out from inside. He spent a solid 18 hours, 26 minutes, and 34 seconds just grinding non-stop to take down the whole streak. He got ready to show everyone the number of zombies he'd taken out. Only 107,000 out of 7 million actually showed up. Everyone was gone, all because of one person. Mint's body looked seriously messed up, with injuries that were hard to ignore. He casually shifted his position, looking totally at ease. He adjusted his arms and legs until everything lined up right again. He got it looking just like it did at the start. He kept a straight face, not even flinching or showing any reaction. For people, this is what matters most. The weapon crushed the Black Code mission, pulling it off with such clean accuracy that it honestly didn't seem possible for a regular person. When she got back to where the brigade was set up, you could tell she'd rushed over the second she got the news. From the way everything looked, it was pretty clear the colonel didn't make it out alive. At first, it just looked normal, but then everything flipped in a split second. The guy just sat there, munching on chips like everything was totally normal, not even fazed by what just went down. He made fun of his daughter, acting like she was being dramatic just because she looked scared out of nowhere. She got heated after catching some urgent news about the colonel being in trouble, so she didn't waste any time heading back to try and help him out. He didn't see it coming. Blue Hawk just cracks up right there in front of her, finding her reaction so funny that he actually starts tearing up. The day before, he saw his daughter lose it when he brushed off everything she was trying to say. Out of nowhere, the daughter who'd just stormed off came back, looking worried instead of mad. She'd always thought her dad was untouchable, so seeing him possibly hurt threw her off. The colonel just watched, kind of amused, while someone behind them was still silently annoyed. She finds out the commander took out all the zombies in the plaza solo, and he did it with nothing but his bare hands. No gear, nothing. His bold moves shut the zombies down for good, so nobody else had to stress about getting infected. Everyone who was still around was safe now. The colonel looked kind of proud as he showed off some small bruises he'd picked up, making sure everyone knew they weren't a big deal. Harry got annoyed and turned away, thinking her rushing back was a dumb move. The colonel kept his boss vibe strong and basically reminded her she still had to watch what she said since he outranked her. He switched things up and asked what she was up to lately. Nobody really got why she showed up alone, especially since Min was supposed to be with her on that mission. The colonel needed to find out if they actually took down the main zombie, so he just straight up asked. The take stopped for a second, just taking it all in. Gary thinks back on what the colonel said a few days ago. Those words really stuck with him, and he can't get them out of his head. This was humanity's final shot, their way to fight back after everything got wrecked by the apocalypse. Finally, the captain started to get where he was coming from. The next morning, the boy heads back to the spot. As he walked in, the base looked unreal, almost like something out of a dream, and everyone there was hyped to see him. He finally got that nod he'd been waiting for. Dude was officially recognized. When noon rolled around, that's when the real funny part finally came out. The villain practiced her pickup lines, wanting to blend in and seem like a regular girl. She planned to start a chill conversation with Min, hoping they could vibe and maybe get close again. She couldn't deal with anything that was too cute for long, so after a bit she just snapped and totally lost it. She tried to pull herself together, even though everyone could tell she was embarrassed. The soldiers walked by, just watching everything happen, not saying anything. Nobody around her really got why she was off by herself. She was lost in thought, not even noticing anyone else, just thinking hard about what she was going to do next. She thought about going after him, but the idea of making a fool of herself made her hesitate. The captain figures out that this is really the only way she can show Min how thankful she is for everything he's done. She smiled, looking pretty chill, and let everyone know Min was the one who actually saved the day. Out of nowhere, she noticed him talking with her dad. Everyone around was trying to guess what they were talking about, looking low-key curious. She realized this was her best shot to get back with the group, so Harry headed over to the far end. She figured jumping in where people were already talking would be way less awkward. Right when she's about to head their way, she catches the colonel totally thrown off by what Min just said. The zombie expert stands his ground, letting everyone know he meant every word he said. It's obvious he's done with the brigade and ready to move on. He was set on leaving before it got too late. The commander just couldn't really accept it in the end. The colonel sees that the guy isn't backing down about heading to Dijon. Since he can't stop him, he just tells him to really think it through before making a move. If another boss-level zombie pulled up, their whole squad would get wiped out in seconds. Even though he was usually fearless, this time he felt real anxiety about what could go down. He really wanted the guys to stick close until the group was good to handle things alone. The boy kept begging, but his dad just stared him down, completely stone-faced. His dad didn't even flinch, just asked if there was any point in sticking around. He honestly didn't care about looking out for the brigade or making sure anyone stayed safe. Harry's eyes went wide when it hit him. The guy standing there wasn't about to save anyone. The way he talked, cold and steady, made it obvious. She can't hold it in anymore, so she just steps out from where she's been hiding. Both of them get totally caught off guard when they see her show up out of nowhere. The captain's anger was all over his face. Deep down, he started questioning if those words actually came from the heart, or if they were just for show. Min stands there, totally sure of himself, backing up everything he said earlier without even hesitating. At the end of the day, nothing mattered more to him than his daughter. He didn't really care about the other guys in the brigade. He said it straight up, no holding back, just staring them down. The captain, clearly annoyed, turned around fast and walked out without wasting any time. Min was straight up keeping his distance on purpose, acting cold so he could mess up the way people saw him. Every time he came back and picked that same route, things played out the same way. The captain always ended up getting super interested in him, but this time he made sure to switch things up. Now, the captain only saw him as something scary, nothing else. Everything goes exactly how he wanted. She couldn't stand being around him. Plus, the boy caught her looking over while he was talking to his friend. He didn't waste any time and dropped some harsh comments, basically shutting down any shot at something happening between them. Min thought this was the only way he knew to keep her safe, and even after dropping the truth, he started to feel more at ease. She totally got what was going on in his head, almost like she could read his mind without him even saying a word. The colonel warned Min not to shut things down too hard, letting him know that being too blunt could actually make things way worse. He lets the boy know that, no matter what Min thinks, even a city like Stan's barely stands a chance in the tough world they're stuck in. The colonel honestly thinks they should all lock in on making this brigade something next level, turning it into the safest spot for everyone. The boy can't help but get drawn in by the offer. Something about it just hooks him. The other guy's words hit hard, and honestly, with both of them having powers regular people don't even dream about, teaming up would be next level. Together, they'd be tough to stop. Even after everything, the reality about time just kept sitting on him. Min realized he couldn't waste another second. In all his past lives, that crazy strong zombie slider always pulled up 10 years after everything went down. Only 10 days had passed, and it was already here. Just goes to show how fast and wild everything was happening. More and more tough zombies started showing up, and it was obvious things were about to get real. The squad wasn't even ready yet, and it already looked like they might not make it. He literally meant real zombies on the Titanic, not just saying it as a joke or anything. He started thinking about his decision again, wondering if he should have done things differently. He said once more that he was leaving the squad before the night was over, already thinking about heading out to Dijon. When it got dark, the whole scene switched up to a wrecked city, buildings trashed everywhere. Out of nowhere, a zombie showed up. Its body was loaded with sharp teeth sticking out everywhere, and it had tons of eyes all over. It looked like just another tough slider-class monster had shown up. The creature starts pumping out waves of weird, twitchy little monsters, all of them dead set on wrecking anyone who gets too close. He stayed locked in, steering his trusty road roller right at the creature, not backing down for a second. Right then, the main body just lost it, screaming loud from all the pain hitting at once. He thought back to how things went down with the colonel before leaving. Even though he was ready to head out to Dijon, being this hyped up just seemed to get on the commander's nerves. He thought of another idea and wanted the other person to check it out. Everything had led up to this moment. The boy wasn't standing alone. He had tanks and armored vehicles rolling up right next to him, backing him up. The tanks just kept blasting nonstop, wiping out anything in their way so the path forward would be way easier. They moved through the area, taking out every enemy that popped up like it was nothing. Min caught the commander's attention, pushing him to come see for himself if a perfect shelter was actually possible. He straight up grinning, totally locked in on Min, just having the best time. Zombie Daddy still had this worry in the back of his mind. He only had his daughter on his mind now, especially since everyone knew about her. He did the exact same thing. Min started out in front, leading everyone as they set off to find the shelter. Everything riding on this mission decided what would happen to everyone on Earth. That day, the storm really went off. The wind and rain were all over the place, making it impossible to chill outside. Out of nowhere, this huge creature came up from the water. It was so big that the suspension bridge next to it looked tiny, almost like a toy in comparison. That thing is so huge, he can barely deal with it. Everyone in front of him saw it, a viscous. That's not just any zombie. It's one of those top-tier ones, way tougher and smarter than the usual. The giant slug was wild because it could leak poison from literally everywhere on its body. If someone barely brushes up against its body, that alone could be super dangerous. The colonel looked over at the young guy, hoping he had something smart to say, since this bridge was literally their only way to Dijon. Min just let him know that the creature normally started moving around after dark. Turns out, zombies had a weak spot, UV light. Whenever one got hit with it, its skin got way tougher, but it started moving way slower, like it was lagging hard. Right when things get intense, they go for the zombie's head, cutting off those spikes sticking out. That's what finally takes it down. The storm outside was wild, so the group had no choice but to chill and wait it out for a couple of hours until the sun finally came back. While everyone was stuck inside, the colonel checked around and realized there weren't any other zombies close by. He zoned in on setting up his armor, making sure every piece was good to go. Right then, a soldier starts getting this uneasy vibe and looks around, getting more and more suspicious. He knew way too much about the zombies, and honestly, there was no good reason for it. Even though he knew his stuff, he walked around like he'd already seen the wildest things and made it out the other side. Even the commander, who everyone looked up to, wanted his advice. The guy had no clue the GigaChat was right behind him. He just kept roasting the commander, not holding back at all. The nerd zoned out for a minute, his brain working overtime on some wild theories. Meanwhile, the Blue Hawk stepped in, dropping down so he was eye to eye with the shorter guy. After that, all you could hear was the guy screaming his head off, his fear echoing through the place. The colonel kept pressing him, clearly not happy about what he said. You could tell the dude wasn't letting it slide, he just kept pushing back, making things tense. His daughter, though, was on a totally different vibe. She'd been sitting for way too long, and her back started acting up. At this point, she was honestly worried about how much her butt had to put up with all that pressure. Her dad snuck up behind her and caught her off guard, making her jump. Out of nowhere, fear took over and she just dropped the umbrella without even thinking. She gets mad and raises her voice at him, annoyed because he totally caught her off guard. Zombie Papa showed up, arms full of snacks just for her. She admitted that she still wasn't used to how he looked now. He's on edge, wishing he still looked like her real dad. Now, he just feels weird about it and kind of wishes things hadn't changed. When she heard that, the daughter just froze and didn't say anything. She stood there, not moving at all. he suddenly looks super uneasy, like he just wants to dip out of there. He thinks back on how much he's changed and starts to wonder if his daughter would even know he's her dad now. He was just standing there outside, quietly talking to himself and beating himself up in his head. Deep down, it was all piling up. Min couldn't shake this one question that kept bugging him, the kind that just sticks in your head. No matter what he did, he couldn't figure out why she was so cool with calling him her dad, even after he turned into something that'd freak anyone out. He pointed at his eyes, making sure everyone knew where he was looking. She pointed out to her dad that his eyes still looked exactly the same, like time hadn't touched them at all. Min thought the suggestion was weird. He didn't get what she meant, since his eyes were already red. As she snacked, her mind jumped back to the day her mom just left. When she was 7, she grabbed her dad's hand tight, just wanting to feel safe with him. Even with all that going on, she remembered how Min always had those honest, generous eyes. She always looked at the girl with this soft, almost clueless vibe, like she felt bad for her but didn't really get what was going on. He always felt like he just couldn't keep up, like no matter what he did, it wasn't enough. Every time she caught his eye, she just got mad all over again. Deep down, though, she knew Min was really the one who had the most to lose. Her dad, who meant the world to her. 2 weeks ago, zombies started showing up right outside her house, like the world just glitched and everything went wild. Right then, a total stranger showed up at her place, covered in blood. At first, she got hit hard by fear. But then, her eyes drifted back to his, and she couldn't ignore how sad he looked. He looked at her with that chill, gentle stare, and for a second, it was like nothing else mattered. She felt like she was the only person he saw. Nothing else in the world felt as chill or comforting to him. The sun started creeping up, kicking off a brand new day. Zombie Loch Ness had skin here that looked super tough, kind of like wood you'd find outside in the morning. Hard and solid, not something you'd want to mess with. The colonel steps up and calls the shots, telling his guys to start firing. The characters started unleashing all sorts of heavy weapons, just going all out. Something slammed into the creature, ripping its flesh open like it was nothing. The toxic slug screeched loud, twisting around like it was really hurting. He doesn't notice the kid popping up from the side. Min, inspired by Levi, grabs 2 axes and handles them like he's been practicing for ages. One hit lands, and the creature's head just splits right down the middle, breaking into 2 brutal halves. Everyone just froze watching him pull that off. Nobody expected it, and even the haters had nothing to say. The colonel finally gets it. He sees why the soldier doesn't trust the zombie expert. Even after all that went down, what he pulled off in front of everyone was straight up unreal. There was the huge slug, totally motionless, not even twitching. The creature hit the water hard, making a huge splash as it went under for good. The boy was standing right up at the top. He used to be the last shot people had, but now he was basically the strongest weapon out there going up against the end of the world. Blue Hawk made it clear to everyone that they were out of choices. Being in this place takes Min right back, reminding him of that wild 99th run he had through the apocalypse. Back then, it took him a wild 378 days, so just over a year, to finally make it to Dijon. He goes through his daily routine, living in the moment. 14 days after everything went wild, he and his crew pulled up, ready to face Dijon. Time seemed to drag on forever. He'd been through all sorts of tough times. After pushing through a ton of tough moments, he and his crew finally made it. They had to head back to day 3 of the outbreak. Zombies were already tearing through different neighborhoods, wrecking everything in their path. Even though they showed up, a special squad pulled up and took them out real quick. Once they locked down the defense line, the operations commander was honestly hyped and just let out a breath he'd been holding in. Getting it done felt like a huge weight off his shoulders. At the same time, they found out that the other squads in different cities totally failed to stop the apocalypse, and because of that, those groups got wiped out. Dijon was the only city that made it through when every other place got wiped out. The group couldn't believe it when, right after getting their last command, all their units just stopped responding. The commander slammed his fist on the desk, clearly getting more annoyed as he realized things were just getting worse. He realized the zombie virus was spreading way faster than anyone expected. When something this huge hit, there was no way they could make it out, especially since every other city was already done for. Some people would probably say this was the end for South Korea. Even after all that went down, the commander still finds out. They're counting on everyone playing fair if they want things to work out. Nobody really expected them to pull through, but they stuck it out and held their ground the whole time. These guys were part of the Blue Hawk Union. Alpha, the team leader, messaged the commander to ask if they could push ahead and level up their operation. The commander stopped for a second, looking like he wasn't sure what to do next, before giving the green light for this mission. Alpha got the green light to finish the job, and the team leader just stuck to the plan without second-guessing anything. When things got tough, he was the only one everyone counted on. Dijon thought that if he just pushed through all the messed up stuff in the apocalypse, he'd make it out alive. Out of nowhere, the team leader's eyes got huge, and you could tell he was scared. He spotted something just floating up by the top of the tower. This thing didn't look like anyone else around. Its body was built, almost like it was carved out of stone, but its face was seriously messed up, like something straight out of a bad dream. Up above, eyes burning bright red stared down at everyone, making it clear things were about to get serious. Now, the story jumps to what's happening right now. Everyone's watching, waiting to see how the hero's about to react. The colonel just stood there, totally frozen, his brain barely catching up to what he was seeing. He could barely wrap his head around it. This spot everyone talked about, the one the zombie expert trusted as humanity's last shot, actually existed. Nothing seemed off. Everything was chill, no jump scares or anything like that. Honestly, Dijon looked better than ever. Dude seemed full of energy and life. Finally, the colonel got why the guy wouldn't stop talking about going to Dijon. That spot actually turned out to be the best place they'd found so far. The soldiers just stared, barely processing what they were seeing. The city was still standing strong, even when nobody thought it could hold out. It was a wild sight. While that was happening, she looked over at her dad, realizing he'd nailed it about Dijon. Right then, she catches the look on Min's face. Dude's clearly angry. Even though it's supposed to be a celebration, things instantly get tense. He was totally mad, and his daughter had no clue why he was so upset. The boy just knew something was off about this place, even though he wasn't close by. He could tell there was some sketchy stuff happening behind the scenes, stuff nobody else had caught on to yet. At first, everyone pretty much has to admit the apocalypse just wrecked everything. All across Korea, the city was buzzing. This city is in the squad. After that, the city pushed back hard, smashed through the defenses, and took control of its area again. When the boy showed up in the city for his 99th life, he noticed only a couple districts were actually handled, and there was still a ton that needed fixing. Nobody had messed with the place at all. It looked untouched, like nothing bad had ever happened. What was crazy was that it actually seemed safer now, with way more security than before. The whole area looked so different, Min couldn't believe all this went down in just 2 weeks. Still, something about it just made him uneasy. He felt this weight in his chest, like things were about to go sideways and there was no way out. All that experience he'd built up over so many lives basically started screaming at him. Something was really off, and he needed to be careful. He snapped out of his daydream. Min called out and told his daughter to stick close to him no matter what happened. That order caught her off guard. She felt a chill, picking up on her dad being scared, but she had no clue what freaked him out. The colonel rushed his guys to get ready fast, realizing they couldn't waste a single second. He knew the clock was ticking and they had to move now. He was practically buzzing to get into the city. Out of nowhere, a soldier got his attention, bringing up a real problem that had to be reported. Someone lifted the tablet so the colonel could check it out. He lets them know something weird is going on. They'd made their way through the area, moving over a huge, wide-open field. Right then, he looked over at the airplanes and spotted something that just didn't look normal. Huge lines ran all over the place, crisscrossing like someone invisible had been doodling on the surface. The colonel was straight up confused when he got handed this weird report. On the ground, these massive lines went on forever, way too big for anyone to really figure out just by looking. Not wanting to mess around, he sent a drone up to check things out from above. When the recording showed up, it made everyone uneasy. Blue Hawk stood there, totally thrown off by the huge drawing in front of him, trying to figure out what it was even doing there. He starts freaking out, shoves the other person back, and grabs the tablet. The way he moves, you can tell he's seriously losing patience. He grabbed it without thinking twice, totally ignoring the colonel, who looked pretty annoyed that someone just barged in like that. He stops for a second, really checking out what's right ahead of him. He finally gets what's going on, and it sets him off harder than ever before. The Expo Tower Inn looked like nobody had messed with it. Everything was still spotless, just how it was supposed to be. Some dude with his eyes covered pulled up again to let everyone know that 10 random people just showed up. A recon squad was already sent out to check things out. Hidden in the dark corners of the office, the mysterious figure stayed out of sight. The leader told him to go get everyone else and make sure nobody got hurt. Min checks out the huge drawing in front of him, taking it all in. The picture showed some godlike being, almost unreal. At the time, the boy didn't get why he felt so uneasy just looking at it, but now he finally understood. He stayed safe hanging out with Dijon, where things actually felt chill for once. He finally made it to the spot he'd always wanted to check out. At the edge, someone was there, and that person basically had his whole future in their hands. Everyone could tell something big was about to go down. The whole place felt tense as this huge wave started rolling in, ready to slam everything in its path. 2 weeks back, a lot of people went through losing someone close, and it really hit them hard as time went on. After a while, any hope he had was just gone. Nobody was coming to save them. The mayor stood right at the top of Expo Tower, looking out over the whole city. A guy stepped up and dropped his name. The guy lifted the thing off the top and set it aside. He stuck the landing perfectly, nailing it like a superhero would. When he showed up, everyone started smiling again. It was like the vibe totally changed, and people just felt way more hopeful. Du showed up as their symbol, always rocking a blindfold that covered his eyes, and nobody could really figure him out. The guy told them what was going on and let them know things weren't looking good. He broke the bad news about how everything was falling apart for humanity. At the same time, he was honestly relieved and pretty happy that both Dijon and everyone living there made it through. The crowd went wild, their voices echoing all around. Once he pulled himself together, he looked at everyone around him and made it clear that them still being there wasn't just some random chance. He called them out as legit standouts, not held back by what they couldn't do, but as people with something special in them, like they were meant to bring back what humanity lost. Everyone in town looked at the mayor like he was some kind of legend, honestly treating him like a god. People were tearing up, totally realizing they were still around because of everything he'd done. Seeing them like that, the mayor gave them one final speech to chill everyone out. He wanted to make sure the whole Dijon vibe stayed alive and never faded. He told himself he'd look out for everyone. He stayed loyal to the city all the way to the end. When he spoke to everyone, you could tell his words hit home and got the whole crowd hyped up. Min and his friends just stopped in their tracks, totally caught off guard. The colonel wasn't really sure if this was the version everyone had pictured in their heads. The zombie expert isn't having it at all. He thought about it and realized he'd never seen anyone get hyped up like that before. Nobody really knew what this guy was about. He kept everything low-key. Nobody, not even the guy they always counted on for info, could find out anything about who this mysterious person was. Back in his previous life, the Blue Hawk Division was the squad that made Dijon a real force on the battlefield. They just stood there, kind of fading into the background. Nobody really noticed them anymore. They were just part of the crowd, not standing out at all. Even with the place packed, it was obvious who wasn't there, the one person everyone actually noticed missing. He was the guy in charge of Alpha Unit. Wu, known to everyone as the hero, had just gone through a lot in a really short time. One small thing ended up flipping the whole city's future. He turned out to be a total mystery, someone nobody could really figure out and who definitely needed to be watched closely. The mayor got everyone together again, letting the whole town know it was time to celebrate. Everyone pulled up to the center of town to show respect for the goddess, since she'd just hooked them up with new friends to help watch over the city. When the new guys hopped on, the man looked over at the crew and nodded, his face showing he seriously respected them. Out of nowhere, a grenade dropped right in front of his face, way too close for comfort. Smoke blasted out everywhere when the grenade went off, filling the place in seconds. Min and his crew suddenly started coughing hard, barely able to catch their breath. Colonel Peng Ho signaled for everyone to cover their mouths and get low, so they all dropped down fast, trying to deal with whatever just hit the air. The dad looked over at his daughter, worried she might have gotten hurt. When he saw she was totally fine, he let out a deep breath, instantly feeling better. The smoke grenade dropped in out of nowhere, totally catching the boy off guard and flipping the whole situation in a way he never saw coming. He checks out the whole place fast, eyes darting around as he tries to spot the guy he's looking for. Out of nowhere, Minsagazi walks in and sees something wild. The mayor, all dressed up in his suit, is hunched over, hacking up a storm he's clearly not going to make it. The air is thick with smoke, and the mayor looks totally done for, like there's nothing he can do to stop what's happening. There was a masked soldier right behind him, ready to blast him in the head at any second. The guy in front is the leader of the crew. Du notices there's a gun aimed right at his head. When it was all over, someone pulled the trigger, and the guy got executed right in front of everyone. The whole crowd had to stand there watching as it happened, scared out of their minds while a life was ended right before their eyes. Deuce's body just drops to the ground, not moving at all, and everything goes super quiet, almost like the world just paused for a second. The Blue Hawk soldier didn't waste any time. He grabbed Wu and held him down, throwing out some serious accusations about Wu turning his back on the team. They can't really wrap their heads around the fact that the one causing all the problems is standing right there with them. Everything falls on the team leader now. Min looks around, picking up on what's happening, and figures it out on his own. He seriously didn't expect to find things like that. With barely any choices, he just did what he could to help out. Wu really wanted everyone in town to snap out of it, trying to get them to see what was actually going on and wake up from whatever had them stuck. He tries to get them to snap out of it and realize what's really going on. Since day one, he'd been throwing everyone off. Right then, Du, who everyone thought was done for, just snaps back up. Even with a bullet hole in his head, he's suddenly sitting up like nothing happened, catching everyone off guard. Nothing really looked different. Everything was just the same as before. Everyone trusted him completely, almost like he was some legend or something bigger than life. The hype was so wild that people actually started calling for Wu to be taken out in front of everyone. He was totally stuck, chained up with no way out, while the crowd started yelling for him to get taken out fast. He stood in front of everyone, ready to say what was on his mind. He loses it and starts messing with everyone's trust, turning their faith in him upside down like he planned it all along. The panel shows them taking credit for bringing him back after he almost died. He calls them the people who live in the city of miracles. They kept showing little signs that they were loyal, just enough so their followers didn't bounce and stayed loyal. Everyone in town was totally locked in on the idea that the goddess existed for real. Their crew started backing them up more, so they were able to push even harder. He steps up and just lets everyone know it's the start of something totally new. It was the kind of light that just wouldn't go out no matter what. He and the rest of the crew in town just went off, celebrating like they'd just won the championship. While everything was going down, the heroes watched it all unfold. Guys slowly started to realize the City of Miracles wasn't what it seemed. It was all built on lies.
Lately, I've had a strong addiction to watching manhwa and manga recap videos. Every single day, I find myself binging one after another, losing hours and days doing absolutely nothing productive. And honestly, it's getting out of hand. So, maybe we can make these viral videos too. I mean, look at the views, the growth, the community these creators are building. It looks simple, right? But that's a trap. You go down this endless rabbit hole, spending money, losing sleep, hiring editors and writers from Fiverr and Upwork, and still feel like you've been robbed. Because don't forget how emotional the YouTube algorithm can be with making videos go viral. It's unpredictable, especially when the market's saturated, competition's relentless, and somehow other creators are dropping 10-hour videos daily while you're stuck trying to finish one. That's when I realized something had to change. So, I built the solution, the Webtoon Narrative Suite, a complete one-click system that handles everything from cropping, script narration, text-to-speech, image processing, and full video generation in one smooth process. Save money, reduce hours of work, and have a tool that only gives you straight results. Click on the link down below and experience it for yourself. And if you want even more tools to supercharge your YouTube recap journey, visit my Ko-Fi and Patreon pages where I drop weekly new tools designed to keep you ahead as AI continues to steal our jobs. So tap in now before you get left behind.